Welcome to another episode of Reseller Evolution. My name's Scott.
And I'm Carl.
How's it going, Carl?
Good. How are you, Scott?
I am good. I'm full of energy. I am all coffeed up and ready to go.
Nice. So, episode 71.
Having fun.
Having fun? There you go.
Having fun. Having fun. 71.
Are you having fun?
Well, today we got something going on. What do we got going on, Carl?
We have a guest.
We have a guest.
Yes. Jamie, Thrift on Fire.
Thrift on Fire. Check out his YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Instagram.
And he also has a podcast as well. We'll have to ask him about that when he's on because I can't remember the name this particular second. But yes, that'll be awesome.
It's reselling A to Z.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
A is EH because it's Canada A. How Canadians say, "Have a good day." What a nice weather, eh?
CA
DNADA. But so I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say. I know some people will know him because he's replaced you a couple of times when you were like on vacation and stuff.
Yeah.
So he sat in here. So it's I kind of like this idea of having guests every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about having Ken on, and we've talked about maybe having Harry on too, if Harry wants to come on, and if Ken wants to come on, and really anybody. It's open to anybody. Just let us know, and we'll schedule in some time. I think it's fun. What do you think, Carl?
Oh, it mixes things up too.
Yeah,
and always get a different perspective. And if they agree with me and not with you, that's even better.
Yeah, well, it's few and far between, but I'm sure it will happen once. All right, Carl. So how'd your week go? How's your week so far?
It was okay. The booth was busy.
Nice.
I think it was the best weekend I've ever had.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now,
is that weather related or like what was going on?
I think it's the time of year.
Yeah.
I think weather related. Yeah. Just not quite warm enough to go out, but more than warm enough it was a nice day.
Yeah.
Or no, it was not a nice day. It was raining. It was raining quite a bit in the morning and then it cleared up. So we had a lot of people come in, sold a lot of jerseys, sold a lot of records, sold some of those mini cars there. Remember I was talking about those?
Yep.
And I sold some more of those. So I just brought them all in because it's like, well, it's a lot easier to sell here. And people aren't dickering around on the price, which is kind of nice. So
yeah.
What else? I went to an auction, picked up a lot of postcards. The issue was, it was one of those choice lot things. And, they had a whole table full, postcards and a bunch of binders. Then they bid up and then you get to choose and you can pick as many as you want at that high price or that whatever price it was. And I had someone else bid me up. I got it. And then they bid me up a little bit and then they completely disappeared. So a couple of things I spent a lot of money on and the rest I got a lot cheaper. I'm not sure how I did. I might have paid too much. So it's kind of weird. Like when, the choice lot, there's like usually a lot in there I really want, but you don't know if the other person who's bidding you up is after that lot. And in that big auction, you can't even tell when they go over there and they get something. You can't even tell if they took the one you actually care about. Yeah. It's not always easy to tell.
Yeah.
So I haven't cracked that nut yet.
Yeah. I know it makes it tough. I mean, it's good for the auction house, but it's like, it's one of those things where are you bidding yourself up, right? Because if they're not interested in what you're interested in, but you're bidding up to get the one you're interested in, then you're bidding yourself up, which is, counterintuitive to you, but it's beneficial for the auction house. That's what they want, right? So, yeah, it's frustrating when they do that. But if you don't play the game, then they end up picking the one you want.
I know. And then you're sitting there for nothing for hours, right?
It's so sad. But
so, what I'm more comfortable there that I'll often just get up and stand around. And so what I did was walk over to where they're actually selling it.
Yeah.
Like I'm not standing in front of the crowd, but I'm standing to the side. And that's how I probably handle that again is once that starts coming up, I get that side so I can see what they're taking at least. And then I know better on what is actually happening. Because like the thing with these auctions is these live auctions is they're going fast.
Yeah.
And they don't want to dick around. And you can't always see even what they're selling. Like they try to show, but these these big lots, they're not going to hold up all the postcards or all the things in boxes because stuff could fall out.
Yeah,
So
I
sometimes
mean,
it can
there's
be
an element of chance too, right? So sometimes I can get your stuff cheap because of
yeah,
that too, right? So
yeah. So I didn't pick up too much from that. Just a bunch of postcards, a couple of collector plates, believe it or not. But
ooh,
they're fish.
yikes.
Well, they're fish plates. They're painted fish plates. It was
Okay.
$5 for a bunch. So like they actually might sell out of the booth. That's the sort of thing that might actually sell there. And if they don't, well, then I got targets for practice.
Well, they're not the hang on the wall kind.
They kind of are. Yeah.
Okay.
It was $5. I'll
Okay.
live. I'll live.
Okay.
Um,
They always seem to hang around for me. Ugh.
well, like I said, it's not so much money that I really care. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to go around buying everything for $5. Don't get
Right.
me wrong. It's just that I was willing to take a chance on these because they're well painted.
And honestly, why they don't sell for $5 a piece, I don't know. Like, I had some really nice train ones. I had
Yeah.
ones with birds on them,
Yeah.
and for the most part, I've gotten them all free. But it's one of those things where, for whatever reason, people just don't buy them. I don't
No.
know. I don't know what it is, because you think a train guy would like a train, no matter what it's on, and if it looks nice, collector plate for $5. But I have a hell of a time trying to get rid of those things.
Well, hopefully they won't hang around too long. And if they do, well, look at your local Value Village here in Ottawa, and they'll show up on the shelves there.
But the thing is, too, Carl, you might hit a subject matter that's worth it, right? Like if you're getting it for that price, it's worth taking the chance.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But
I don't mind gambling a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Once in Blue Moon. It's just that if you keep doing that over and over again.
Right.
So
yeah, but I mean, you've been around long enough that you know what, hey, for $5, take a chance on this. I'm either gonna break even or I can make a good amount of money.
Oh yeah.
Right?
The unknowns, right?
Yeah. So I'm sure you're gonna sell one and get your money back at the very worst. So on the flip side, you can make a bit of money too, right?
Oh yeah. Like I bought a box lot from there a little while ago for like I think $5-7, and one of the dolls in there is worth 40 to 60, right?
Yeah,
so,
that's it.
I didn't know about when I bought the lot, that's for sure. So
yeah, and not only that, it's a learning experience. So you take a chance on it, you're only going to get burned on that type of item once,
or for me twice.
Yeah, now that you think about it, I guess. Maybe
yeah. So apart from that, today I got to ship out a teacup and a Funko Pop of all things. Another one sold for 50, I think, American. So that's pretty good for a Funko Pop.
Good.
Teacup sold for 140 or something.
Nice.
I love that. Like someone sent me an offer. I love the fact I can just send an offer back through eBay messages. It's so nice.
Yeah.
Because it's like no BS. It's like I'm pretty bad at communicating. I don't even talk back to them. I just send them the offer of what they asked. And if they buy it, they buy it. And if they don't, they don't. Right? So yeah. How was your week?
My week was good. I hit a couple yard sales. Wasn't too impressed. I mean, there was a couple things I bought, which I'm happy with. But I overpaid on some Legos. Now I paid $100. Now overpaid is subjective to me. You paying $100 at a yard sale, so it's too much. But there was some nice base plates in there. Yeah. A lot of about 5 to 10.
Okay, those could be worth $20 if you're lucky. Yeah, each.
Yeah, so I'm figuring $10 each. Lot them together. There's $50. Get my money back on that. $50-$60 on eBay. I sold Legos base plates. They were a little bit different, but for good money. I explained that a couple of weeks ago. So, but also in there is a ton of Lego, which is going to be more. It's going to be more than $100. But the main reason I bought him is because he had a container that is probably about 12 inches long, 5 to 6 inches deep, and probably 10 inches wide. And it was full of little figures. And he had another, like a little fish and tackle, just a little like handheld box but it had all the weapons for these figures.
Nice.
So I'm figuring on the figures that there's minimum 50, but there's probably closer to 100. And honestly, if there was 200, I wouldn't be surprised. It's really one of those things that's hard to count. But if you just kind of go 10, 10, 10, honestly, there's got to be 100 figures in this container. So to spend $100, he was asking 200, and I got him down to 100. And then I still didn't really know if I wanted them or not. But I'm like, for those figures, I think it's worth it, right? Now, because those figures can be 10 to 20, $30 a piece, right? Depending on what they are. And all the weapons and stuff are there. It's just, is it going to cost me a lot of time to figure which ones go with which weapons? I don't know. It might not be. It might be quick Google Lens. You're going to see a complete set, and then you can just throw it together. And if that's the case, that's good.
But yeah, the figures, I'm lucky because the guy across from me, Chris, he can ID them just by me showing. He knows exactly where they're from.
Yeah.
So
well, and Legos do very good under the booth. So what I'm thinking is I'll put $10 a figure, kind of put it up and put it in a baggie, and I could probably sell them like $10 a piece. If there's 100, there's $1,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at $10 a piece. So
were they your Star Wars or like Heroes?
Dude, honestly, everything. This guy was like had everything. I don't know where his other stuff was, if it was inside or not, but like I'll show you sometime. Like I don't have it here. I think I have it in the garage. But what I'll do is I'll bring it out and show you next week. I'll have them here because nice. I'm sure I won't have gone through them yet. But it's a ton of Lego. Like it's completely worth $100. It's just how much time do I want to invest in it, and it's not boxes. So what I actually do out of the booth, and this is why I love the booth, I will randomly grab Lego, fill them in a bag, randomly, and I'll put up to I think I do like a pound, and it's like $5 a pound. So I'll put $5, I might do like 3 to 5 pounds. I'd have to do it again because it's been a while since I've done them, but I'll have to fill it up. But I think I do like 3 pounds for $15.
Mm-hmm.
I think is what I normally do, and I just kind of put them in a bag. It's actually a magazine sleeve, and then I just tape it shut, and they sell very quickly.
Nice. So I have a question. So when he wanted 200, right?
Yeah.
How did you negotiate that down to 50%?
Well, first of all, so I said, how much for the Legos? He goes, I'm asking 200. So when they say asking and they're a little bit, like right off the bat, I know, we're asking 200. You could just tell by the vibe that it's not a solid number. And I said, well, I'm in yard sale mode. Like this is too much. And then she goes, well, we're motivated to sell, like make an offer. I said, I can't do an offer. And he's sitting there, he goes, I could do 150. And I said, well, let me look around. I said, I'm sure you'll get that throughout the day. You know, and honestly, in my mind, I'm like, I'm not interested in 150. I just wasn't. So,
yeah.
And then, so I'm looking around and I bought some fake cakes. I've done very well with them before.
Yeah, I remember those. Yeah.
Yeah. So they had other ones there, fake cakes, cupcakes. They had a pie, a cake, and probably a dozen. There were brownies, cupcakes, donuts, that kind of stuff, right? So I bought that stuff, and then I just said, you know what? I said, I'm not here to lowball you. I said, I'm gonna go. I said, if you say no, it's fine. I said, but I'll do $100 on those Legos. I said, but I don't want to do more. He goes, okay. So,
oh, sweet.
Yeah. So
I find that interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so that's where that happened. But you can just kind of tell when they're like, they know they're at a yard sale and they know 200 is a lot for that kind of stuff.
They're kind of embarrassed to say the price. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, so their 200 is not what they're going to like. They'll go for less. And then he went quickly down to 150. That was the next one. And I'm like, well, I'll try 100, but at 150, I wasn't going to do it.
No.
Right. So, and it's probably worth it. It's just in my mind, I don't know. It felt like a lot of work for $150, you know? putting that all together, right? I did like the base plate idea because I had sold them very quickly before, although they were a different base plate. I just felt, base plates seem to be kind of very sought after.
Yeah,
So,
like if they're the space ones do really well, like whereas
yeah,
like the moon
yeah,
base plates, or like I've picked up some of the ones that have like roads on them, like it's all green and then I'll have a road on it.
yeah,
They're a little worth a little less, but yeah,
yeah. And I'm gonna lot them together, right?
yeah,
So, uh, I know there was another base plate outside of the green ones, and it kind of looked like it was to resemble like low hills, but kind of like a bumpy, kind of rugged area,
yeah.
like of
Okay.
dirt. So
Hmm.
that might be something as well. I don't know, but um, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. I'll have to break it down. A lot going on right now, so we'll get to it later. As far as solds, I mean, the booth was a little bit slow. I won't deny it. It was still okay. A couple $100 on like 250 or 240 on Saturday, and I think I might have eked out 200 on the Sunday, but it was a little bit slower. Now Sunday was a beautiful day, and I just think people are out playing.
Yeah, they
So
didn't want to hang out at the antique market.
yeah, yeah. eBay. I mean, toy soldiers. I sold a simulation. Uh, Basically, it's a steering wheel for an airplane. It's a simulation thing on a computer. Basically, had nothing in it. I think I told you about that one, Carl. Sold for
Yeah.
$100, but it ended up going to the Yukon. Like it went to Northwest Territories. Uh,
No.
so I had 20 for shipping. So the total price was $120. It cost me $75 Canadian to ship it.
Oh.
So, I might have made 25, $35 um, after deductions and everything in there. But luckily, I had nothing in it because this was a situation where I was at a sale a couple years ago. We've discussed this one where the lady was passing away and she wanted everything to go the way she collected it. But this was her husband's who had passed away like previously. And she really had no interest in it. It wasn't an antique. It was just one of his silly computer things in her mind. So I got basically I got it for nothing. Because I got you that and the pedals for an airplane. It was actually two pieces, but I sold them separately, and I already got good money for that. And I kind of think that I paid $5 for the pair. You
Right.
know what I mean? So I have nothing in this one because if I sold the other one for profit over the $5, obviously this one's basically free. So luckily I didn't have like $50 into it or something, because I
I
would have been out
know.
of money.
I've sold those like racing wheels and stuff like that. Generally, I don't touch them anymore because it's just too much of a pain to test them and to pack them, and they're usually heavy and big.
Yeah,
Now,
this
there's
one
some
was
really
in
amazing
great.
ones out there, but
This was in good shape, and they were an older couple. Like they were kind of in their 70s type thing,
yeah,
60s, 70s. But like it was an adult. Like it wasn't like some kid just throwing it in his closet or whatever. Like this
yeah,
guy, they kept good care of their stuff. So, I didn't mind it, but yeah, I tend to agree with you. I stay away from the steering wheels and all that kind of stuff too. I did have another order on those insoles. Somebody bought four.
nice.
Yeah. So ironically, it was a different guy, but he bought the same size of shoe. So now I'm out of that sole. That like one guy bought four a couple weeks ago, and now somebody else bought four of that same thing. So now I'm out of that size. But I don't care. I want to be out of all of them, to be honest. So I sold the Model T coil box with lid, original parts and repair, $180.
Nice.
So that's a good one.
So weird, that stuff. So weird, but so good.
But so good. Car parts, man. Car parts. Another insole. Lots of toy soldiers here. Oh, I sold from that pharmacy lot. I sold last week. I talked about that powdered tin. Well, I also sold this week it's an antique porcelain pill tile slab. Apothecary druggist pharmacist 10 by 10 board. had some cracks and some crazing in it, which I disclosed, and $100 on that. So nice. I was pretty happy with that. More toy soldiers. Somebody came back and bought the Quebec Nordiques jacket. I sold it last week, but they never did pay for it. They ordered it, but they didn't pay. So I was able to cancel, relist, and then within a couple of days, it sold for a higher amount because I would have put an offer amount on the first one that didn't sell. This one I got $125.
Nice.
Auction here, Seagull. So this was this should probably be a bolo. This is probably a bolo thing that I should save for next week, but I won't. I'll let you guys know right here. But it is a mobile. It's 1977. It's dated on the side. It says from Japan. Ataguri. I'm probably butchering that pronunciation, but it's a mobile. Now you can get airplanes. They're kind of like a chrome color, and airplanes. This one happened to be seagulls. I paid $4 at an auction for this, and I got $65 very quickly. I probably should have put $85 on it, and some of them do go for over $100. And you can get airplanes, elephants. There's all sorts of different. My particular one was seagull, and it was not used. It was still unopened, like not used, open box type setup.
Yeah.
So that sold very quickly. And I got $85 for a Rosenthal Studio line. Basically, it was just a vase. But I had that in the booth for a long time, did not sell. And I got $85 online for it. $55 for a Dynasty Warhorse drip glaze ceramic pottery. Warhorse with dragon. It actually has some meaning there. I forget. I'll have to look it back up. They're going to get a good deal on that, and that's going out today. A ruler, a wooden ruler. I got $35 on it. Again, more toy soldiers. And also going out today is going to be a film reel from the 1960s. It's a wedding in Ontario, Canada in the 1960s. I got $40 for that film reel. And that's about it, Carl. Other than a lot of toy soldiers in there. So, and most of the stuff is going to the U.S. So,
cool. There you go.
Yeah. So even the Nordiques jacket went to the U.S.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was in the last week. So don't know what else to say. That's about it. It's been pretty good, pretty decent. It's been decent. So there it is.
Yeah,
I'm hoping the booth does. I don't know. I hope it kind of picks up. I was a little bit like, okay, here we go, a little bit of a lull, but I'm pretty sure it's the season type thing because it started off strong. Like,
and people might have been distracted this weekend. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
I also was doing, for me, I had to do my taxes, so that's been kept me busy for the last couple of days, just concentrating on that stuff. It's always a lot of fun. So there might have been a bit of that going on as well.
Yeah, and it's not that it was bad. It just wasn't. It definitely was not great, but it was borderline good. You know what I mean? Like it was like, okay, like I wouldn't have wanted any lower. I can accept where it is, but
yeah,
I kind of anticipated more. I put a lot of stuff in the booth. I changed it up. I put a lot of different stuff in there, and I thought that stuff would have sold more. So, but today's the last day of the month for the booth. So,
yeah, which means I got to pay next weekend.
But yeah, and that's about it as far as picking and everything. I got a private pick coming up on Friday, so we'll see how things go. So,
yeah, I'll look for garage sales Saturday, but if there's none, I won't be that upset.
I will quickly just go through here. I just want to see if there's any big sales of the booth. Everything is like under $25. I sold for $40. I sold a little a wrestling figure. Oh, you know what? I actually was not too bad because I sold 2 end tables. This is furniture stuff. It was by a local person, a local furniture making guy in Waterford, where the booth is, in the 70s and 80s. and I picked up two end tables, a coffee table for $100, and I sold the two end tables for 65 each.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was very quick. Like, I was surprised how quick it is. Just everything again is just such low amounts. $35, $25 sale, but nothing big. Nothing since last week. Nothing like a ton of sales under $25, but nothing. No, like $400 or $500 items have been selling. So, anything else, Carl, or is that it?
No, I think that's it. Like I said, I've been busy. A lot of things happening. I have like a teacup, Funko Pop, and a statue going out today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the teacup is a Ansley, actually sold for 140 American. I have a feeling it's going to a reshipper, but I haven't actually checked. I bet you it's going to a reshipper. Yep, it looks like it.
Which is fine. I don't have.
Oh yeah, I don't mind. They want to do that.
Sale.
Yeah, sales to sale. Yeah. Yeah, the market was fun. It was busy. I saw a friend of mine, who I hadn't seen in a long time. An older lady who actually paints the nesting dolls, which is relevant to the later part of this episode. Foreshadowing. Anyways, so she was thinking about getting they have little cabins outside.
Okay.
So I was talking to her about that. I was telling her, just like, because she was talking about like she does, like when she paints the nesting dolls, that's much more of a crafty kind of thing. Yep. But she has other stuff. So I was saying crafty stuff I don't think will do too well at the market, because I just don't think a lot of customers are going there for crafty stuff. I could be wrong. But yeah, like it's a lot of distractions this week, so not a hell of a lot going on. So that's it.
Okay. Well, we got somebody knocking on the door right now. Should we let him in?
I think so.
Okay.
Can't ignore him for too long.
Some people have seen him here before because Carl had taken a couple days off and Jamie filled in. So,
oh yes, thanks, James.
Who do we have today? Mr. Thrift on Fire himself, the one and only Norfolk County boy.
Yeah.
Jamie.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, Thrift on Fire. That's his handle for YouTube. That's his channel. Do you use that for anything else, Jamie?
Instagram, and then everything else. It's been on fire something or other for a long time. Like all my video game handles are like either on fire or Jamie on fire or whatever. Yeah. Don't know what. Well, I do know this kind of the story behind it. There's kind of two sides of it. I always loved the band Alexis on Fire, and then I remember watching the Austin Powers movies, and he's like Scotty on Fire. And that just like I just laughed, and I'm like, oh, that stuck with me. So yeah.
Well, it's a good name. It's a great name for sure. It's very catchy. And is that pretty much how you started, was thrifting, or is that just one aspect of it, or was that what you normally did at the beginning? Because I have seen you out at yard sales, so I know you definitely do yard sales.
Yeah. Oh, well, my grandfather embedded this into me young. I think he was always like, he'd pull over on the side of the road and look through people's trash and find stuff that was valuable, whether it was scrap metal or something he thought he could sell at a yard sale in the summer. So I was always interested in the idea that people's junk was worth money. And I think that escaped me for a while, but as I was looking for a way to make extra money, I certainly thought back to those days as a kid with my grandpa, and I started looking for new places to find things, which yard sales, thrift stores, anywhere you can really find, still the side of the road. I've still picked up vintage stereo equipment on the side of the road and flipped it on Marketplace or Kijiji for money. It's still a possibility.
Oh yeah, if you're quick here, like there's sites where people say put stuff along the side of the road, or that they find stuff, and someone had a whole furniture set, like nice stuff, and they just put it at the end of the block. But you got to race 1,000 other people to get there first. So
yeah,
I don't lift furniture either. So
I'm assuming they probably have this in the city. You're not really a city guy, Carl, but you're kind of on the outskirts of the city, but in a big town, would you say?
Yeah, I guess, but it's a city. It's Orleans. It's suburbs.
So is that an extension of Ottawa itself?
I think technically we're Ottawa now, but
okay.
yeah, it is really an extension. We have the green belt around Ottawa, and then we're past the green belt.
Okay.
But really, I really see us kind of as Ottawa. It's the suburbs, right? Dense, all that stuff, right?
Well, the reason I say this is because I know in smaller towns, and I'm assuming in bigger cities too, but in smaller towns, we have like a garbage day. It's once or every year or once every couple of years, where you can just clean out and put everything to the curb.
Yeah, we had that.
And that's gold mine to us. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because that's when you just drive around, and there can be a lot of stuff here. I think they're slowly getting away from that, though. I think they're starting to do like you have to call to have it come and picked up.
Yeah, there's a fee for it too, I think. Yeah.
Is there a fee now? Like, I mean, sometimes there was, I don't know, there was more stuff than I thought could actually fit in people's homes. Like sometimes there's like piles of stuff out on the yard, right? Yeah. So I can kind of understand that to an extent. I think some towns, I think Woodstock still does it the old-fashioned way. Some places do that. So
I'm always amazed at how many diaper genies you see on the side of the road. Like that must have been one of the biggest companies ever.
I avoid those neighborhoods.
Yeah. But
it's funny that like you started young then, with your grandfather. Like I think Scott, you started late. Like I didn't do any of that. Like my parents were into antiques, but we never bought to resell or did garage sales.
Well, I would have been exposed to it early, but I didn't get into it myself until late, for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
But there was always an element of antique stuff. I know my uncle, who really just lived down the road, like, an eighth of a mile. You know what I mean? Really, you could throw a stone and we would be able to hit his house. But he used to deal a lot with antiques and forever. He got really quite well known for it. My dad used to dabble in it as well, too, not to the same extent. But he would have a booth at Waterford, but I never paid attention to it until after he passed away. No. But at least I had a bit of a, like I would go looking for arrowheads and different artifacts that way out in the field because we lived on a farm. And I kind of was exposed to a lot of that kind of look of antique. You know what I mean? There's stuff in the barn. There's my uncle's dad would have a collection of different things, but I just never got into the selling of it myself. But I would say, and Jamie's a Norfolk County boy, so we're within about half an hour from each other, but I would say a lot of people around here, oddly enough, are really into the old antiques, especially if it's local stuff. Do you find that kind of thing, Jamie?
Oh, yeah. I think especially like if I'm dealing with stuff in my booth, if it has a tobacco leaf on it, because this area was like made on that essentially, right? It's very popular. You can sell just about anything with that type of stuff on it. But yeah, there are a lot of antiques in this area for sure.
And a beaver. It can have a beaver on it too.
Yeah, beaver too. Very successful.
So when did you get started on eBay, or did you get started on eBay, or?
I remember selling on eBay in high school, just like the odd thing for fun, but never really got serious about it until maybe about five years ago or so. Same
with me.
Yeah, so I think I was kind of looking for a way out of what I was doing for extra income. I was doing, I don't know if you guys ever had like Android boxes or Kodi or messed around with like that type of thing where you're like streaming television and movies from like the Android boxes. I was doing that.
I know what you're talking about, but I've never had one, but I know people that did.
Yeah, so I enjoyed extra money from that, but the problem was people were always knocking on my door, leaving stuff in my mailbox, and I'm like, okay, well, I like the idea of selling stuff or making extra money, but I don't want people knocking on my door and calling me up all times of the day and whatever. So I started looking for alternates, and I'm like, oh yeah, eBay. And then I think I started watching videos. Like the very first videos I was watching were like rally roots and shed flips.
Yep, me too.
That type of thing. And then I'm like, oh, these guys are doing awesome. And then the first thing as a Canadian, you're like, oh, but the shipping's not the same. I can't sell a cheap thing and ship it. The shipping's worth, so there's a big learning curve when you're getting into eBay to figure out the hurdle. if you have a good item, it doesn't really matter. It'll sell, and someone will pay for the shipping. But if you're trying to sell a cheap item, no one's going to pay that crazy shipping, right? So that was the hardest thing to learn.
I think that's the biggest lesson, especially 5 years ago for new Canadian sellers for sure.
Yeah,
is they don't realize how expensive shipping can be. But also, like when you look at solds in the United States, they don't realize that the solds are showing shipping as if they shipped it to you in Canada.
Yes.
So they would think, oh, this guy got $20 for shipping when it might have been free shipping, right? And then a lot of people, including me, would get stung selling the item for $30, thinking you're going to get $20 of shipping, and then having to shell out and like making nothing. But it's a lot better now. So,
yeah, and I think the longer you do it, you pick up better items too, right? Or come up with alternate solutions to make it still worthwhile, but still.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Would you say your primary items, like I know you do other items, but would you say it's clothing? Like, and I'll generalize that, like hockey jerseys, coats, but like just overall something that people would wear, like clothing wise.
I feel like it's the easiest thing to get. But I mean, I do sell a lot of collectibles, and then recently, obviously, cards, hockey cards, baseball cards, whatever, like crazy. And that's just because such of a big buy, which is just like constantly trickling in money, which has been awesome. But yeah, I mean, the thing with clothing is you can always find something. If you're going to go to the thrift store, if you go to the Goodwill bins, there's always clothing. I'm friends with a lot of people who buy a lot of clothing, and they'll try to sell it through whatever local avenues they want to try to sell it through, and they're willing to sell it to me for wholesale if they can't sell it locally. So yeah, the opportunity's there. If I had an opportunity to pick up a bunch of toy soldiers, I mean, I do that too. But
yeah, toy soldiers are good. They're fun.
Yeah,
it's like you just said. They just trickle out every day. It's just free money now. So you can't beat that. But
no,
it's
but
funny.
I do enjoy finding other things. Like, you know what I mean? Like of course we all do, but I'm just saying the toy soldiers are great, but they're a good find for me based on what they provide. And I do find them to be actually cool, but I don't know. You kind of get bored after a while of selling them. Like, don't get me wrong, I would sell them all day, but there's other things that I really, when I find it, I'm like, wow, man, I can't believe I found this. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
But I don't know. I'm kind of digressing a little bit. The toy soldiers were fun. So
yeah, no, it makes sense. So I mean, I'm certainly not excited to sell a pair of women's jeans, but I've sold so many of them. It's one of those things.
It's funny at the thrift stores. I find there's two separate people: the people doing clothing and the people doing everything else. And I find the clothing is usually younger guys and women too, but it's like two separate groups. Like, I never say they never mix, but it is definitely something I've noticed. Like, I'll see some of the guys there they're going through clothing one by one, and then I'll never see them anywhere else. And then guys like me who just will never venture into clothing at all. I tried shoes once, but it's like, okay, well, there's damage here or there's wear here I didn't notice. And I'm always worried about returns with clothing, especially for Canada. Like, how do you deal with that?
It really depends. I mean, for the most part, if it's something that's worth getting back, I will make sure to get it back. Yeah. If not, sometimes eat your loss and just let them keep it. But then again, I've been really feeling out the buyer. If I think the buyer seems like kind of like they're trying to pull something over on you, I've had it lots of times where they don't even ship it back to you. Like, they'll just keep it. Yeah. So it's so hard. Like, I just don't worry too much about returns. My return rate is pretty low. And all you can really do is do your best job of describing everything, including flaws, the best of your abilities, so that you have less of a chance. If you look at a lot of my feedback, a lot of times people will be excited that the condition is way better than they expected.
I get those too. It's like, oh, you described this a lot worse than it actually was.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. And that's the best way to do it.
I think so.
Yeah, I'm starting to dabble in clothing for sure. I just went out yesterday, a Quebec Nordiques jacket. I sold it last week, where I give someone a discount, and it went to $106 after the discount. But they didn't pay for it. So I canceled it. Buyer didn't pay. And then a couple days later, it sold for the asking price of $125. So
nice.
I'm like, all right, that's I'll take that instead. But that went out yesterday. So, but I have dabbled in shoes. I had Jimmy Choo shoes,
Jimmy
big
Choo.
bolo there.
Yeah.
Jimmy Choo. Anyway, but they did sell. I got $100 for them. But, I'm starting to dabble in clothing. Just to kind of pull back a little bit from eBay and go to the booth. Clothing is selling very well at our booth right now. In fact, the owner is setting up an area just for clothing, and the option that she's, I guess, trying to sell to the sellers, the vendors, is $1 per month per hanger, minimum of 30 hangers, and you can sell as many. So if you sell a clothing a day off one hanger, it doesn't cost you more. You've still paid for that month. You know what I mean? So it's $1 for the month.
Interesting.
We'll see how that goes. I have 3 really big booths, so I have a couple areas set up for clothing, but it's surprisingly doing very well out of the booth, to be honest. I mean, it's going to take a little bit of a different look. Like it's not going to be a thrift store style. Like, it's going to be Blue Jays. It's going to be wrestling. It's going to be maybe hockey related, or it's going to have a really 1970s vintage dress look. You know what I mean? With the flower patterns and stuff. Like that's the kind of stuff you're going to put in an antique store, but not something from 3 years ago that somebody donated because they bought a brand new coat, right? Like it's got to have some vintage kind of nostalgic or something with it, but it's selling. It's selling out of the booth very well too.
Are those hangers $1 plus commission or just $1?
Oh, everything's commission, dude.
Yeah. No, I was just clarifying.
Yeah. No, everything's commission. It just comes out at the till, right? But that comes after. But you still have to pay up front the $1.
Yeah. Okay.
But with a minimum of 30. So it's really $30 for a number of hangers, or for 30 hangers. So
yeah, that's a pretty good deal, actually.
Well, if it sells, it depends on the competition and how much it sells. It's kind of like, I don't disagree with you. I agree with you. But we'll have to see how much demand for clothing is. And you have to have the right clothing. You know what I mean? So, like I put that same jacket, the Nordiques one, I think I put $100 in the booth and it sat there for 2 months. I put it online, it's gone in a week.
Right.
So I would rather sell that on eBay than put it in the booth. But then I picked up 3 wrestling shirts. 2 of them are Stone Cold Steve Austin. They're $150 online. They're going online. One was a Undertaker, and it's worth about $30. So I put it in the booth for $20, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, what I get it for, $1 or something. So the Stone Cold Steve Austins, I paid $5 a piece. So
I mean, that's still a really awesome deal.
I know.
But that's been my biggest downfall with my personal booth is a lot of times when I'm looking at items, I'm like, well, why would I put that in the booth when I could sell it online 10 times faster for more money?
Exactly.
And that's the thing. I found things that I put there that were higher value sat because you are just waiting for that right person, where that right person is like probably 100x online. It's so hard. That's, if we get into a little bit of booth talk, that's sort of where I feel a little aligned with Carl, where I feel like you're legitimately in a flea market. I feel like my booth feels very flea markety now because the stuff that I'm trying to sell is lower value, just tchotchke kind of stuff sometimes, where the higher end stuff I haven't had much luck with.
Yeah, no, like what you're talking about, like everyone told me it takes like 6 months to a year to figure out what sells in the booth. I think that's very true. I think I'm on the 8th month now or 7th month, and I'm not really moving that much inventory. But at first I would put in anything thinking, I got a bunch of extra toys here, I'll throw them in.
Right.
But even at a low price, I found they weren't really going because there was no demand for those toys. I was just hoping to get rid of these toys at $1 a piece, right? But there's still no demand for it. And then other stuff, I had the same experience as you. Is like I'd have something good in there, but people want it for like 50% off eBay if I was lucky, right?
Right.
And
right. It would make sense if it was damaged or there was a reason why it wasn't online, but
that, yeah, it's good for damaged stuff. So like I always put on the label that it's damaged, but you're right. Like less worry about returns because obviously you don't do that, or packing. That's kind of nice. And
yeah.
And for bulk items, it's good because like, I have like what are those little, I always call them giblets, the little things that go in shoes, right?
Oh yeah.
They
I think
talk.
Yeah.
So I just put a bowl of those, put those out, sell them cheap, and like there's no work, but it's not really bringing me in a lot of money, right? So
right.
One thing I used to put online, and the market just got flooded, is hats. So I usually pick them up for, I don't know, 50 for $20 or something like that. So less than $1 a piece. At most I'll pay $1 a piece, unless it's something really fancy that I can put online. But regardless, but I sell them very quickly out of the booth at $10, $15.
Okay.
So my hats are going to the booth now. I don't even bother taking photos and putting them online unless it's something fancy. Yeah. But the market is flooded. But in the booth, I sell probably, I bet you I sell a minimum of five hats a week. But I'm always restocking, so I'm always constantly putting hats in there. And you've been to my booth. Have you been to you haven't been to since I switched that small booth over to the other side?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so anyways, if you look at my videos, I don't know, it's probably been a while since I put one up, but anyways, I have a bunch of hats all sitting on top of the ledge, right? So they're a big part of the booth, but yet they're set in such a way that they're not really taking up too much room, but yet noticeable. But anyway, but hats are a good seller for me out of the booth, right? It's kind of that horror DVD, it's that VHS tape, it's that nostalgia $5 item that doesn't take up much room, but really is collectible. So, so that's what. So I'll still buy a ton of hats, but that's where I'm putting them.
But you've always got a big piece or two worth like good money in your booth that always sells, right? Like I realize. Yeah. You've got an eye for that and you understand what sells in your location. And that's a big part of it. I'm certainly not there yet. I can't find those type of things that'll move out of, could be location, but I can't find those type of things that'll move out of my booth.
Yeah. I don't want to mislead people. Like there's a lot of times too, it kind of goes back and forth, but I would say it leans very heavily to the side of, if it doesn't sell in the booth within like 6 months, but I could put it on eBay and it's a good item, it's probably gone within a week. So, you know what I mean? Okay. So sometimes I am constantly trying to keep an eye on that, and I will move it in and out of the booth. But to me, my booth does so well. Like just for me, it's the location. To me, they're two different things, but to me, they work together. I have them work together, and it just seems to work for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think my original goal obviously was to displace what so I'm an idiot and got kicked off Etsy. That's the beginning of the story, right? Like I was selling brand new with tags jerseys, which I knew was a no-no. Yeah. Listened to too many people say it's a slap on the hand, don't worry about it. And next thing you know, all the begging and pleading in the world doesn't get you back on Etsy. So I was hoping to make, and I think I made okay money at my booth. I don't think I expected either to replace the money totally. If I'm going to be completely honest, I expected I was going to do better than I did with the amount of effort that I put in. But I'm still happy with it. I mean, it's definitely been fun and a good experience. I would continue to do the booth, with the money that I'm making from it. It's different for sure. Negative. Yeah.
Yeah. Like when you did the math, I agree with that. Like when you actually account for everything and you account for your time, you're not really blowing away. Like last April was my best month and I made net about $70 a Sunday. And that's 10 hours of work. So, and that's my best month. That doesn't include
you could have took your Tesla and did some Ubers and made that, right? Like
exactly. Like I'll sell more on eBay standing there and net more than I will in the booth where I had to do all the stuff. Like for me, like there's a couple of other aspects with the booth too, where, you know, it's still learning what does well, because there are some things that do better in the booth, but it's hard to figure that out because you don't have eBay solds just to look at and figure out, oh,
Right.
if I put this on eBay, it's going to sell in this range, right? It's going to sell this fast.
Yeah.
With a booth, you don't have that. So like, ironically, I find I pulled stuff off eBay, which was Smurfs, believe it or not, is I found I can make more with Smurfs selling them for $7 a pop than I can online, because the valuable ones are pretty rare, which I'll still put on eBay, but all the common ones, they won't really sell at all on eBay because no one needs that stuff. But in the booth, they don't take they don't take up a lot of room. It's still enough profit there to make good money, and they're easy to do, right? And there's demand. That's the big thing. There's actually quite a few collectors for Smurfs.
Yeah, there's enough Smurfing profit there for you to want to.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right. But then the other things I brought in, like, just sit there, right? And it's like antique toys I brought in. And it's like, well, people want them cheap so they can flip it. Because at my place, there's a lot of resellers. It's like, no, I have no interest in that. Or like someone came in looking for really good teacups. It's like, no, I'm going to sell them online. Like, I'm not going to bring them in, sell the $200 teacup for $20 here. Like, that's not going to happen. So it's been interesting doing the difference. But when you did the math, like I was saying, I think a lot of people who sell at the market never do any accounting. And because it's all cash in your hand, it's really easy to not know how much you're actually bringing, because the physicality of money is so different than seeing numbers in your bank account, which is eBay, right?
Well,
Right.
in all fairness to them, though, Carl, I don't think they're in it to make money. I think they're in it for different reasons, right? Like, would you agree to that? Like, I don't know your people there, but I know some people are just in it because it's a social thing for them, kind of like what you started out as doing. So I don't think they really care about, you know what I mean? They just, if they can sell something, they're happy. And would you agree to that or no?
I think it's a bit of both, to be honest.
Yeah. So the people that want to make money, I'm sure, are keeping track of their pennies, but I just have a feeling that a lot of people aren't keeping track of the money because they probably just don't really care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But the market is an interesting combination of people, right? Because there's different things. Like you have an antique market, right? And then where you are, Jamie, it's not like a flea market, but it's not just antiques, right? That's my impression from what you're saying.
It's kind of a mix for sure in there. But yeah,
but the owner, I know the owner, and he's a very antique guy.
yeah. I know he's got a couple booths up in St. Catharines and stuff like that, or no, St. Jacobs.
Yeah.
So he's got other things he's doing too. But he actually, it's interesting to me, like, I imagine this probably doesn't happen at your location, Scott, but he gets people coming in and wanting to sell him stuff, like all the time. Like, I've actually bought stuff from him that somebody's dropped off, and, you know, they just wanted a few bucks for this thing, and it's, you know, I've made money off some of it. But he's also started to sell like Pokemon cards and some like pop culture stuff, just because people will come in and, you know, try to dump it off on him for a few bucks. It's almost like a pawn shop sometimes, it feels like.
Well, I mean, I totally sell Pokemon and stuff like that, but I find I think antique booths have always been like this. So if you go back 1970, things from the 1950s was only 15, 20 years earlier.
Yeah.
So to us, it seems antique-ish. It seems old. But in the 1970s, that was just like Pokemon cards could be to us. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So I think it's always had that nostalgic, vintage, collectible, and antique element to an antique store. I think that's always been the same idea. It's just they seem modern to us where 1950s stuff didn't. But if you were doing an antique store in the 70s, 1950s would have seemed modern. You know what? I went to the movies last night, and before the movie they did this kind of like these interesting facts type things. 1927 was the first time that they synced audio with video. 1927. So let's just skip 3 years, like jump 3 years, 1930. That was 40 years before I was born. 40 years before I was born, they just started syncing up. 40 years is nothing, man.
Yeah.
Like, think back 40 years from now. Like, it really isn't that far. And I'm like, look what they do with videos today, and AI, all sorts of crap going on. But only 40 years before I was born, they were just syncing up audio to video. Like, it blows my mind. You know what I mean? When you stop and think about that. Like 3 years before I was born, they put a man on the moon, or maybe 1 year before. Like, what time did they put a man on the moon?
They put a man in a studio, if we're going to be correct.
Don't go down that route.
Oh, you triggered Carl.
God damn it.
But
I mean, Katy Perry's been to space, so how hard could it be?
Hero to the people.
I saw one of the best memes ever. If 30 seconds into space makes Katy Perry an astronaut, then I'm a gynecologist.
That's the joke of the week. We can avoid the one at the end of the show now.
The week right there. Yeah. But
so back to the booth. Like, how are you going to, like, are you going to change? What are you thinking about changing? Like, because this is how you make your living, right? This is your job.
The booth. Yeah, the booth, I would say, feels more hobbyish to me at this point. But yeah, I mean, I've thought of a few different things, but I mean, for the most part, I think I'm going to pander to the market of what's selling. I sell a lot of like small, like pins, little collectible stuff, a ton of DVDs. CDs are like they fly out. Like, I'll pick up CDs for like, I don't know, the Goodwill bins, maybe probably less than 10 cents a CD. I don't know what they even weigh. And get $4 or $5 for, stuff like Guns N' Roses, Metallica, and the best of Bob Seger, and like rock, mostly rock for sure, right? Like, I'm not out there picking up like pop music and stuff, but that type of stuff sells on a regular basis. So it seems crazy not to put it in there.
The nice thing about CDs too is you can put a lot of value of inventory in a small square footage.
Yes, that's
like for me, it's like CDs are okay. Like, I sell them for about $4. They don't take up a lot of room, but records, I'm getting 15, 20, 25, and you can put so many records in one small square foot.
So much harder to find quality records. That's the problem. Right?
Yeah, and they're not mine. They're the commission, because he has that backlog of them. But it's the same. But the same with jerseys. I can put a lot of jerseys in a relatively small square footage, especially if they're in a bin or something that they can go through.
Okay, yeah.
And so actually that brings in a lot of the money every weekend on average because of that. So
yeah,
I think Jamie found the same thing as I did in my booth, that jerseys are a tough sell
for me. Yeah,
it's funny, eh? And for me, they go at the door. So
yeah. So Jamie's found success selling them on eBay, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
But
I feel like I could probably, I'm not going to do this, but I feel like I could probably downsize to a smaller booth or shelves and sell the type of stuff I'm selling and pay less rent. But I don't really want to do that either, because I do like the opportunity to have more stuff. At one time, I think I had too much stuff there where it was even hard to see what I had, which I've kind of scaled back from that a bit too. But
yeah, it's the temptation to pile stuff. Mm-hmm. And like when I double, like what's the size of your booth?
It's an awkward size because it's between a doorway, but like maybe 10 by 8 or something like that, roughly.
Okay, I started with a 10 by 10, but we had to be there, so you're kind of awkwardly standing by the side for a 10 by 10, and I increased to 20 by 10, and my sales basically doubled.
Okay,
but my net didn't really change, right? Because I'm selling twice as much, but that rent, it's hard to make up that rent. It takes up so much of the money. So, but it's just nicer having more stuff because it gets out of my basement.
Right.
And you can try more things. Like I find with like, if you have too small of a spot, it's kind of like you try something, but you get impatient because it's like, it's taking up so much room and it might not sell for a weekend or two, but overall it might be a good seller. It's just that you have to, have room for it. And like coming from the eBay world, going to the flea market was very different. But
have you tried books in your booth, Jamie?
Yeah, I actually have like a spinning bookcase, or almost like a magazine rack. It's got like 4 sides, right, and like 3 layers. Yeah. I've also got like, some pretty basic like Stephen King type books on a shelf. I do okay with magazines, actually, is what's been good. Like Carl, cover your ears. I've been selling like all Nintendo magazines for like about $5 a pop. I know you sell them, but I think you sell them in like bundles, right?
No, but I have done really well. I haven't picked up any in a while, but I have sold them over $100 before.
Yeah. I know some of them can be really good, and quality is, these ones, the quality were if you looked at it, you would know what they look like, but they didn't look prestige or anything. So I was like, I don't want to try to sell these online and have somebody complain about it. So
you have to be careful that they have the posters in them too.
Well, I mean, in the booth, I don't care if they have to look to see if they care if the poster's there. So, but yeah.
But that's what I mean. Like online, they might care. Right?
Oh, for sure they would.
Where if it's in the booth, it's up to them to check. Is what I'm trying to say there.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah.
And there's no negative feedback that you have to worry about either.
Yeah.
No, books have been doing very well for me. I set up a couple areas for books, but at the same time, I try to keep some good stuff in there too, like some higher end stuff, especially in the one booth. So I don't know, just try to mix it up like that. But I just want to kind of clarify that I wasn't putting down the store at all. I just think it's a different store, and I don't think there's anybody that's going to run it better than Mike does. Right?
Oh yeah,
I just think he's in a different situation. Just being kind of new in a small town and stuff like that. But at the same time, he is in that circle of antique booths locally where the good pickers will still go around. Like they'll do their rounds. They'll hit Waterford, Delhi. They'll go to Franny's Attic. And they'll hit the one in Simcoe there that is probably not going to be around too much longer either. But, they will kind of do their rounds and they'll hit them. So, he's still in that sweet spot. And it's just, I don't know. I just don't think the town kind of can support like just antiques. I don't think it's that type of town. He does have a good drawing area. I don't know. I got to be careful what I say because I'm only speculating. I don't really know.
I don't think you've said anything negative or that would.
No, I wouldn't mean to.
No. But I think part of it is that it is reasonably new because of the whole COVID thing. Anybody that I run into that I say, hey, I've got a booth or whatever, or maybe my wife has told them and then they're asking me questions, don't even realize that place exists. So it is new enough that it's not just common knowledge. And I usually tell people, oh, it's the old, I think it was a Saunders paint building. And that place, I didn't even realize. I drove past it 100 times. And then, hopefully that leads to somebody stopping in. But there's a lot of people who probably don't know it's there.
But it is on a major highway too.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I guess you don't recognize it unless you're looking for it.
Okay, but here's a good example. So I was trying to fix this week my nephew's Xbox Series S. Okay, it had a HDMI port issue, and I took apart my fair share of electronics. And I went around Tillsonburg looking for some help. And the one guy at the hobby shop said, "Hey, did you go to this on Broadway, which is the main street? It's not that far from our business, Tranquility." He's like, "There's a computer repair store. It's been there for 30 years. Did you try them?" I'm like, "There is." And then I went there and I walked in. I couldn't believe how big it was and how many times I passed this store. It's like PCI Computers or something like that.
Okay.
This has been here for 30 years. And this is like day one for me. And yeah, I mean, so it's not uncommon. If it's not on your radar, you don't even think about it. I know there's a travel store there, and all these other little things that I would never go to. And it's just kind of just blends in with all that other stuff that I don't care about.
I have a perfect solution. Talk to Mike.
Yep.
You can dress up as a clown with one of those spinner signs.
Yeah.
And you can dance on the street saying
Antiques,
right?
Antiques. Or we can get one of those inflatable guys
dude,
that
dress up as a beaver.
yeah. Yeah.
Canadian antiques.
Hey, that works. When I was a kid, I remember remember that pizza joint in Tilsburg had Fluffies or something.
Okay.
And they had a mascot out by the road, and
it works.
It works. It drew me in. I wanted to go there every time.
Yeah.
Actually, this is all a good point of like advertising for these places, because when I was in a place downtown here, no one had even heard of it. Even collectors of toys, and this is what this place does, had never heard of this store, Nostalgia Warehouse, right? And when I first started at the market, I'd never heard of the market either, even though I'm into this stuff. Yeah. And I asked them how they were doing advertising. They're still doing advertising with newspapers, right?
Yeah, super.
Wasn't there someone, Carl, that you said is, I don't know if it was you or someone else, but advertising the phone book?
Yeah. It's like,
was that you that was saying that?
Well, I don't even know who does phone books, and like I haven't seen a phone book in like 15, 20 years.
I know.
Yeah, that's like, newspapers are great. They help me start my campfire every summer.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah.
But at my market, they've gotten actually a lot better. And now that I've seen Facebook ads pop up, because they had some new people start doing the advertising rather than the person who volunteered 20 years ago and never changed anything. And
yeah,
like, it's funny because they don't want to spend money on it. But if you bring in like 3 customers, you're probably paid for the entire advertising campaign, right? Like, and since they've done it, traffic has actually gone up, but not only traffic, but new faces. Because there's a lot of people who go for me, it's only Sundays, and it's the same people showing up, and they're more there for social reasons really than even buying, right? But so do you use social media? Like, I've been the worst. Like, I have an Instagram account, but I never use it. Do you use it at all for your like store or for your eBay sales?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as far as for the booth, usually if I go to the booth and do like a restock, I'll take like a little video and post it, and then I'll actually tag the location, like, and they will do the same. They'll usually, a day later, maybe later the same day, they'll repost it on their social media.
Okay.
Include my tags.
Which social media? Where are you posting it to?
Instagram and then Facebook, but just stories. Once in a while, I'll post like an actual post on Instagram, but usually just stories. So like, you have to be watching within a day or whatever. As far as eBay, I mean, because of my YouTube channel, I don't typically post a lot of stuff on Facebook or Instagram related to sales, just because my sales are just blatantly out there if you want to watch videos anyway. So I don't really want to annoy people with like multiple, like, hey, this thing sold, but
yeah, no, I get that. What's the difference between stories and a normal post on Instagram?
Like, stories are like, if you click on, and same thing on Facebook, where they've got like the feed. It's just like a short story. I guess it can be up to 90 seconds or something like that. But they just go away. It's just like what's happening right now. You can check it out, and then they don't stick around. You can't see them after they're gone.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yep.
No, I haven't done much of that. I should do it. It's easy enough to do, right? I'm there anyways, all for 8 hours on Sunday, right? I just never think of it. But
any good picks that you went to lately, Jamie, or any stories that you want to kind of share because you were pretty excited about it or anything?
I mean, I've went to a couple like rummage sales and stuff like that. I did have somebody message me on Instagram out of the blue, and I swore up and down. I even said to my wife, I bet Scott gave this person my information, because I didn't know who it was. And I've only met the person who gave my information like once or twice. It's somebody from that is in my booth, also has a booth in the same antique mall I'm in. And they knew that I did clothing and stuff. And this person had a whole bunch of hats. I don't know if you've seen the big, I think I paid like $110 for like a lot of hats. They wound up being like 10 cents a piece, but that was really good. There's some really awesome hats in there, but there's probably 70% of them I threw right in a bag and then took them to Goodwill because they were disintegrating all the, you could clean all the foam out of the hats. Is it really worth it? It's questionable.
No.
Sure, depending on the hat.
I wouldn't give anybody your information without contacting you first.
Well, it's just through Instagram, so I mean it's public anyway. But
okay,
yeah.
The one I did set you up with was that guy from the post office, but
yeah, and that was awesome. I that post office one was all the cards. Yeah, I bought the cards last, right? I bought some jerseys and baseballs and pucks, and then went back and bought some more stuff, and then finally, I think we got to a situation where he realized there's not too many people willing to give you money for your stuff. And then we made a deal for $4,000 for the rest of what he had. So
plus, he worked at the post office, and they were just going to strike. So you picked the perfect time.
Yeah. Hit them when they're down, right? That's how it works.
Hit them when they're desperate, like Siraj does to the vendors over at Carl.
Yeah, I know, right? Like we have to pay on this Sunday, so he's going to be going around.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the strike thing was only part of it. I think a bigger part of it was this gentleman was getting married, and I think actually remarried. They were like blending a family together. And I think they were just trying to, he might have been getting his arm twisted a little bit by his new wife, but they're just trying to get rid of some of this stuff.
Totally. That's totally it for sure. Yeah. He like we had a conversation, and that was what he said too. He just had to get rid of some stuff. So
yeah,
I just threw a little joke in there. What's that?
He has a lot more really cool stuff. I should actually hit him up to see if he's hurting again for some money. He had a whole bunch of autographed, like, Smashing Pumpkins stuff, and like he's the kind of guy who would pay for, I think, like either hang around late to get like an autograph from people. So he had like all these like posters that were autographed, and like he'd buy VIP packages and get like all this special stuff. And he's like, I don't know what I'm going to do with any of this stuff. It's cool. And, I just spent so much money. I'm like, yeah, I could revisit this, but currently, I'm not in a position to hand you over some more money until I sell some of this. So,
yeah. But I haven't seen them yet since the strike went back. I don't think I see new people at the office. So I don't know if he got transferred or if he's got a different position. But I haven't, I don't think I might have seen him once or something, but for the most part, it's all new guys now. So.
The scary thing is that Canada Post strike monster is coming back soon, eh? Like they're.
Did they just? I thought I got an email saying that they are agreeing to still negotiate. So just
okay, good.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I've been dealing with some other stuff like just today. So who knows? By Friday, this might be old news too. But like, so one of the big things I use is Stallion Express for shipping.
Yep.
And Monday, everything was fine. So we're recording this on a Wednesday. I go to reship, which would be the third-party labels you would get from like Poshmark US. So it's already a prepaid label. And what Stallion does is you re-enter the information, you pay 90 cents to $1, and they take it across the border from you. This morning, it says, we've disabled this service. We're no longer accepting third-party labels. This is with like no email notice, no social media posts. I've seen some people message on one of their like I went to their Facebook and looked at like the last thing they posted. I'd seen some people ask questions, but they didn't answer anybody. I'm like, ooh, that's dirty. Like if they're just pulling the plug and not telling anybody, obviously some issue at the border where they don't maybe want to get hung up on the hook for a bunch of stuff. So they've just put it on pause or something. But yeah, that kind of sucks.
Well, I did read somewhere where companies, oh gosh, I don't know which company it was, but it's not, they're not taking parcels worth over $800 right now.
Yeah,
because of the tariff and the de minimis and all that.
Yeah,
right?
Because it's got to be under 800 for the de minimis. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so I think I'd be careful selling things over $800 right now, because I think Canada Post you'll probably find, but other places might.
Yeah,
I can't remember where I read that, but I read that somewhere. So.
Well, that's actually what Stallion did when there was all these question marks with the tariffs and like, are you going to be okay, or is this package going to have duty on it when it goes across the border? They suggested when everything was really in the red and nobody knew what was happening, that they added a probably what Canada Post uses. It's just Canada Post to the US, but is duty paid on delivery. So if there are any extra fees or duties, the person who has to pay this is going to be the person who gets it at the end. So it just leaves Stallion free of any, extra charges at the border. It leaves you as the seller free of anything. And if the person who gets it's unhappy, they can still be unhappy, but they're the one responsible for the duties or tariffs. But that now they've rolled that back and took it away, and now I'm shipping it. I had been shipping again with just United States Postal Service to the States because it is cheaper. But yeah, I don't know. So hard to say.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't had any problems yet. I'll definitely keep an eye on that. Make sure my costs are under the 800. But yeah. So we'll have to wait and see. But I don't know. I think having the booth, having multiple avenues of selling is very important, because you never know when you're going to hit glitches, like a post office strike. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's gonna, that's where the booth kind of makes sense, right? Now, I was going to do a show in June, but we're moving at the end of June, so I won't be able to do that now because they're about 3 days apart. So yeah, so I won't be able to do that because we'll just be too busy. So I was really looking forward to it, made my phone calls and everything, and got my ducks in a row. But now it's too close together. It's going to be hectic. I can't prepare a week for the show and have 3 days to move. You know what I mean? Like,
God, moving. I'd cry.
Yeah, I know. So I'm just like, you know what? I'll just go to the fall one. But they only have 2 a year. But I mean, those things are good avenues as well if you can get into those kind of, shows and stuff. The good ones. This one's in Aberfoyle. You've probably heard of Aberfoyle, Jamie.
No.
I'm sure your owner there goes to Aberfoyle. He probably has a booth set up there for sure. But anyways, I digress.
Yeah. The only thing I wanted to say too is, like, on Monday, May whatever, that's the next roll of the dice to see what happens with the tariffs and all that, because that's when he said things are changing again. I can't trust what he says because it changes from like one day to like 24 hours later.
Yeah.
So I'm not even going to try to predict or think. And it's just so annoying because I don't want to.
What I read right now, that de minimis is only going to be affected to China goods.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what I was told. So anything coming imported from China. So I don't even think it's China products. It's anything imported from China.
I don't know, because I know through Stallion, when you have to do the HS code, there's no option that says, well, this is already in Canada. It's
exactly.
China. So I know they say they will not accept them. Now, I know some people who will just say they're from Canada, even if they are from China. I'm not saying that's the right or wrong thing to do, but it does already belong in Canada. So I don't know.
It's from Canada, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. It's used goods from Canada, being shipped from Canada.
It's gonna get messy, I think.
Yeah,
but
I don't even think they know what they're doing on next week, right?
No.
So the issue was mostly with the reshippers, like you're saying, is because they got stopped at the border and turned around for a while until they dealt with that issue. So they're just trying to cover their own butts on that, but we'll see. Next week who knows with what's going on next week, might as well be years from now.
I'm going to just continue doing what I'm doing like I always did. I'm not shutting down my store or making any drastic moves until I have to.
Well, I've actually put my store on vacation mode starting at 3:00 today. But
you going on vacation?
Yeah, I actually am.
Nice.
Well, I know you wouldn't shut it down for any other reason. So.
No. Yeah, we're doing so my wife's birthday is on the 8th. So we typically go and do something. We are going to do like a little around the lake tour. Not the best time to cross the border and go into the US. And if we didn't pay for this months in advance, so we bought a couple concert tickets We're going to the opening day at Cedar Point, which is an amusement park. If I didn't prepay for all this stuff, we would definitely question whether I'd even want to cross the border.
Yeah.
But why is that? Just because of the dollar or something, or is it political?
No, just I think just what's going on over there. I've heard some horror stories about people having like their phones taken away and they go through stuff. But I mean, I'm not overly concerned about it. I'm not a paranoid type person. I mean,
the border patrol, like they're doing that.
Yeah, I've heard a few horror stories, but I mean, we've since all this has happened, went to Florida and flew and had no problems at the border. But yeah, I don't know. I'd be a little weary or even wanting to spend a bunch of money in the U.S. I already have. But when we go over for trips like this, I've got a U.S. bank account mostly from Poshmark sales. I just don't convert my money back into Canadian.
Yeah.
So I use that. So it feels sort of like it's not free money because I definitely wind up paying taxes and everything else on it. But it feels like that just because I don't touch that money unless we go on vacation. So there's just, that's kind of a nice part.
So where is the problem? Going into the U.S. or coming out of the U.S.?
No, into the U.S. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's just, I think I've heard, I've had this happen before as well, but I've heard a lot of people, they want to know like a lot more personal information. Like, well, you say you're doing this, like, show me, you've got hotels booked, show me your hotels, stuff like that. How much money are you bringing in? Just typical stuff like that. Or I've heard different people say about like, they'll go through your contacts on your phone, and if there's something on there they don't like, they'll just send you away. I've never had any of this happen. And, you hear all kinds of things that aren't even true. So it's hard to say. It just makes it a little bit more, like I'll definitely be going, I won't be leaving it to the last minute to leave. I'll be going early in anticipation of,
some lineup or something.
Yeah. I think last time we crossed was for our Florida trip. And we're like, oh man, we were 2.5 hours at the border, but there was actually a Buffalo Sabres game.
Okay. Yeah.
And when we got to the border, the guy was sort of like, oh, you're not going to the hockey game? We're like, no, we're not. He's like, oh, you picked a bad time to cross the border. Like, yeah.
I honestly always found it tougher coming back in.
Oh yeah.
Like I always found that's when you get grilled as coming into Canada. So that would be our Canadian border, right?
Yeah.
But I think, they're looking to see how much stuff you're bringing in.
And if you're day tripping, because we have the luxury of day tripping because we live so close to the border, right? Like, because you have to be away for 2 days before you can really bring anything back without, some consequence. But
yeah, and I know when we were younger, my cousin and I were 19, 18, and we were coming back in, and like we got pulled over and they checked the car out and they made us stand to the side, and it was like, the dogs were in there, and I'm like, what are you doing?
We had that. We had, when I was about 19 or 20, we had that going into the United States.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I've never had an issue going in ever.
They pulled us over. They had us come into the border station. And they checked the car up and down because there's 4 young guys driving into the United States.
Right.
And basically they said, what's your plan? Oh, we're just going to drive across the United States, go camping and stuff like that. Yeah, they went over it with a fine tooth comb, but they let us in the end, but we were there for a while. Yeah.
Well, knock on wood, because I'd hate to be held up and strip searched and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah.
Unless she's hot. I don't know. Good looking border guard. That's different.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't know. I was trying to be funny, guys. I don't know.
I would be that lucky. I'd have just a big brood of a man.
Yeah, right. With big hands.
Sausage.
Yeah. Exactly.
So when you're gone, like some people when they go on vacation for eBay, they just increase their handling time. You didn't want to do any of that?
I thought about doing that, and I have done that before, but I just have my store on vacation from Wednesday to Saturday. And we're coming back. We'll be home on Monday, but like Saturday, Sunday, everything will be running like normal. It's just to avoid handling time. I don't really mind vacation mode. It's just, it takes a little work to get out of it. You can't just turn it back on and everything just pops back to life. You have to you have to finesse it.
Do you sell on .com or .ca?
Currently .com mostly. Yeah. I think I've got about 90% of my stuff on .com and still maybe about 10% left on .ca. Yeah.
Same with me. Yeah. Just whatever's left on .ca really. I lost my top rated seller status on .ca because they don't have enough sales there anymore.
Oh yeah, I suppose that would be an issue. Yeah.
It's the same an issue, but it's just a slight discount difference. So I don't.
It's the same account though, right? Or do you have multiple accounts? Because you can just use your existing account and list from one to the other.
Yeah, I just use one account, and I only lose it on the .ca, not .com.
Okay.
I really care about because .ca is mostly like remote controls for Rogers or Bell or very Canadian only stuff.
I mean, the only negative to .com, in my opinion, unless I'm wrong about this, and I hope I am, and you tell me, oh, you just do this. There's no shipping options. It's all USPS.
You're wrong. You just do this.
Okay, I can't wait because that's great news.
So for .com, when I go to ship, I use .ca, and I can print all the labels through Canada Post at a heavy discount rate. So heavy.
Okay, so I wasn't aware of this. That's
so
great.
The discount rate on .ca is so heavy, it's better than my reshipper Chit Chats, or the same. And of course, Canada Post is everywhere, so I've actually stopped using Chit Chats.
Right, because I was considering him. I was like, oh, because I just switched everything to .com, and I'm like, if Stallion becomes a headache with UPS and the border and blah blah blah.
Nope.
Do I really want to switch everything back? And I just assume because when you look at shipping options when you're in .com, you're only going to get United States Postal Service. But
okay.
That's awesome.
Okay. So to be clarified, for .com, I pick a international shipping option.
Yes.
I've been told there's Canada Post on there. I've never seen it, but honestly, it's never been an issue. So when I pick the service, I'm not picking USPS. I'm picking international shipping, and no one's ever said a thing.
Mine says standard for everything. I don't pick
standard. Yeah, whatever it is, it's just a generic option.
Mm-hmm.
But when I actually print the labels, I have to actually go to .ca. So it depends. Like, were you talking about like your shipping options, or are you talking about printing labels?
Shipping options. Printing labels, buying postage directly through eBay.
Yeah, then you have to use .ca, which is not an issue. It doesn't care if it was sold on .com or .ca.
Okay, so, I'll give that a try. That's awesome. It's one of those things where I guess I didn't try that. So yeah, I'll give it a go.
Yeah, and the nice thing is something's gonna be really cheap. I've shipped things for $6 or under $6 using eBay labels. So I don't know what they did with Canada Post, but they actually made a good deal. So
yeah, even bigger items now can get to like $11 and change, where before it was like $20.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like it's crazy. The difference. It's so good. I was gonna start doing UPS a little bit more, but ever since the strike, Canada Post is even the bigger parcels have come right in line. So anyway.
Yeah, UPS I have used. Right now I'm kind of avoiding UPS a little bit if I can.
Yeah.
Although I forgot the other day because the issue with UPS and FedEx is they have with the border and all the tariffs and all that stuff, they're in a different stream than Canada Post. And from what I understand, UPS and FedEx, especially like if you've ever ordered for the United States and ordered from the United States to Canada using UPS or FedEx, you're familiar with the brokerage fees.
Mm-hmm.
And how that can be a flat fee of like, I don't know, $15, $20, $25. The same thing happens the other direction under the tariffs, or it could, because they're in a separate stream. So for that reason, I've been actually avoiding UPS and FedEx going into the United States from Canada and trying to stick to Canada Post. I forgot, and I shipped something, scrubbing bubbles, a classic bolo, so we'll see what happens. So, anyways, that's what I'm doing. So it's not that much of it. It's pretty rare, like where that's going to happen, where I prefer UPS, but yeah.
All right. Anything else, Carl? Or do we want to get into a bolo?
No, I think like I was curious about what, how the booth is going, how you felt about it, what your plans are. I think you answered all of that, like what you're going to change or not change. And, are you doing Facebook Marketplace at all?
Yeah, I actually, I do. It really depends on the item. Like, typically, like say, like if I find like decent golf bags and stuff like that, that I don't really, you can ship them, and I'm not against it, but it's a lot easier to sell to somebody locally. So items like that, I don't know. I mean, the short answer is yes, but it wouldn't be my first place to list stuff.
No, I can't stand it, but I know a lot of people do well.
Yeah, it's annoying. I'm a bigger buyer on Marketplace, but even that's annoying, right? Like a lot of times, it just people. I like, for instance, I tried to buy a bundle this past week with of Nintendo stuff from somebody, Super Nintendo stuff.
Yeah,
I had given them probably 8 different times that would work for me, and none of that would work for them. And essentially, they wanted me to come to their house at like 9 o'clock at night to come get this stuff. And eventually I just stopped responding. And then on the weekend, they're like, hey, you still want to pick it up Saturday morning? I'll be around. You know what I mean? It's just like
a lot of BS.
It seems like a waste of time. And then, sometimes it'll come together, and other times it's just like, whatever.
Oh, when it works, it's great.
Yeah.
It's the other times that make me bitter. And I'm not a patient person when it comes to BS. So it's like,
there's a lot of that on there for sure.
And whenever you look,
sell stuff right like while I was on the way to get it too, like that's another thing.
Oh, I've had that happen. Or like they say, oh, I'll be there in 5 minutes, and then you never hear from them again. And that's why I'm always saying, like, people can do it, say they do really well. It's just, I applaud them of their ability to do that. And like when it comes to buying, there's a lot of resellers on there.
Yeah,
but what I found I would do is if I know they're a reseller and they never have good deals, I block them, and that way I just won't see their listings anymore. And that kind of
well, that's Scott's favorite move, the block.
The block, yeah.
Block them.
Block them, forget them, yeah.
I don't know whatever happened on Marketplace. I feel like the American resellers that you watch online, they used to you could ship stuff on Facebook.
Yeah, that's available.
Is it available in Canada too?
I don't know about Canada, but United States, they definitely added that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess like it's funny. It just feels different, right?
Yeah.
Facebook, like I guess the other thing too is you're dealing with a lot of like how are you going to get paid stuff.
Yes, that can be an issue.
Yeah, someone was just like saying the other day, like even e-transfers can be pulled back now or canceled, which is terrifying to me. I have never done. Well, I have done e-transfer with family, but I didn't even know it's possible to pull back a e-transfer. So.
I see a lot more people wanting you to send money to hold it, and that being a scam too. And then they give you a fake address. But yeah,
it's you could get paranoid about all we're doing too, right? So
for sure, people are for sure. Like I mean, I think people have just in the last 5 years realized that Amazon's a safe place to buy, and you can see how well they're doing. But I mean, somebody like my parents would have never bought online until it was a proven thing that was safe.
Amazon made a huge change to people's feelings, especially during COVID. I think a lot of people got used to buying online, paying online, doing everything online. And but Amazon has its problems too. I know someone who sells on Amazon, and there's one kid in Quebec who was infamous for like getting games that the cases were empty every single game he ever ordered, and he became known to all the sellers as this one person in Quebec until they finally had to call the cops on the guy, on the kid.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like, it's like anything. The percentage of that is going to be so low that if you're worried about something going wrong, you'll never do anything in life. Right? So.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything else? Anything you want to add, Jamie?
No.
Anything new coming up? Any shows you want to plug? Like, or
at some point, I think we'll bring back the A to Z Reseller podcast. We've been on a bit of a break. Nothing necessarily wrong. Just we haven't had the time, or really just been not in the best place. So we're gonna pick that back up for sure. And currently still doing well, this week I'm only doing 2 videos because Friday I'm going to be away. Trying to do 3 videos every week on my YouTube channel. I can tell you it's a bit taxing though. The burnout isn't like, I still want to do it, but it's like after a while, it's like, man, this is like gets to be really repetitive. And the growth on YouTube is so slow. I mean, I don't have like any monster videos that have like are super successful. So it's not like you're rolling in the money. You really just have to want to do it. Otherwise, it's not a financial gain to do YouTube for sure.
Exactly. Scott and I were talking about that actually off the air just last week, and why do some channels just take off and some just slowly grow despite the amount of content they're pumping out or the quality of the content, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, but that's a different complete.
Yeah. It's fun to do, but it's not, it really is a grind to the point where you wonder if it's worth it. You know what I mean? And
it is
how can I better utilize my time?
Yeah. That's the biggest thing. It's a time suck for sure. But I've created, I've met you. Knock my mic over here. I've met you guys through YouTube. I've met John through YouTube, and a whole bunch of other people. Even, when I go to the Goodwill bins, it's funny how many people I've seen for a long time come up to me after months and say, "Oh, I watched your channel, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, okay. Well, it's just weird. It just feels a little weird because it's like this person already knows a lot about me, and I'm going to have a hard time remembering their name.
Yeah.
Some of that's rewarding too, to have conversations with people who are truly interested in the same thing as you, and maybe even what you're doing directly. So, I mean, that the social part of it's definitely worth it. The financial part of it is not.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I've met a couple of our listeners down and at the flea market. That's been awesome.
Yeah.
So that's fun too, right? But yeah, like I stopped doing the videos because it was just like, it was too much work. I'm lazy. It's in my name. And, but I still enjoy the social aspects, which is why I do this. So,
yeah.
But, yeah. Okay. How about bowl time? I know Jamie's got to go, relatively soon. I mean, I think he's still got a little bit of time left, but, I think we can fit in a bolo time. And Jamie, do you got a bolo?
Yeah, I think so. So if you are in the realm of sports cards, there's a lot of things that you would think when you're looking at a sports card that you're like, oh, this one's so colorful and it looks unique. None of that matters. What matters is rarity and exclusivity, right? So like what you're looking for, if you're at a yard sale and you see a bunch of cards and you don't know anything about cards, if you flip through and you see a numbered card, that's instantly worth money. Even if it's like
what's a numbered card?
So it could be anything. It could be numbered 1 of 1, meaning it's the only one that exists.
Okay.
1 of 5, 1 of 10, 1 of 25. I would say if it's 1 of 100 or less, guaranteed that it's worth your time to pick it up.
And where are you going to see that number?
Usually, so on modern cards, it's usually like embossed in the card, and it'll literally show like of how many and what number the card is of the card. Because the funny thing is, like, you can get like an autograph. The autograph cards are so common now, and they mass produce a lot of them for like these hobby boxes.
Yeah.
Some of the autograph cards are only worth like $3, and that's pretty common. They're not worth a lot. Where a numbered card, because you might have 1 of 50, and then there's so many other things. There's like color variations of the same card. You might think you have this card, and then you actually look it up and like, oh, the edge around mine is orange, and the one that's not was red or whatever, right?
I've been tricked by that.
That's so silly, eh?
Yeah, but that's it. I would say look for numbered cards. If it has numbered on it, there's ones that are way less valuable. Like there will be like, of 3,000. Obviously, that's still reasonably rare, and how many might be out there, but it's not going to be desirable for resale. Less than 100, probably going to be really good.
And does the sport matter?
Yeah, I mean, some sports are more collectible than others. Like just today, I sold a Tiger Woods golf card. Most other golf cards probably aren't worth very much. This one sold for $90 US, so that's a good one. But it's Tiger Woods, and it's got like a piece of material on it. It's not numbered, but it's just from the right time era when Tiger was the man at that point, right?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you can get soccer cards. There's trading cards for NASCAR, wrestling, and I think they all the same thing. You want the rare cards are the ones that people are really going to be chasing after. But sports like football, baseball, hockey are probably still the big three.
And for numbered cards, do they tend to be like? Is there an age range for? Like, I've never heard of this, so this is amazing for me to hear about.
Okay. Is there an age range? No. I mean, you could go buy a brand new pack of cards right now, rip them open, get a 1 of 10, and you might have $100 card right there.
Oh wow. Okay. This is great.
Yeah, it's addictive. That's the problem. Like that's what you see these people do. Buy these cards open, looking for this rare and exclusive stuff, right?
It's the new scratch tickets, or
it's the odds are against you, just like scratch tickets. That's the problem. But you gotta find a guy who spent the last 15 years buying these things and then lowball him for his whole collection. That's how it works.
And condition's important.
Yeah, condition is important. I would say most people who rip cards to collect them or that you would save them from, probably at the very least put them in like the penny sleeve. And then a lot of times, like a top loader is so cheap, you'll see junk cards in top loaders. So it's a good idea. I mean, shipping a card is an experience too, to make sure it gets there right. But yeah, I would say if you don't know anything about cards and you're flipping through, that's what I would look for, number cards.
Have you found a quick way to ship that stuff? It's like I do postcards, kind of similar in a way.
So I buy these cardboard like a cardboard mailer that's 8x6 by a third of a millimeter, right?
Yeah,
like
I call them stay flats. Yeah.
I just take a piece of thin cardboard that will slide in as an insert and use masking tape because it's the least aggressive of tapes you could possibly tape something with, to tape like the top loader down essentially, and again. But usually, that's not directly on the card because that's on the top loader. If it was a postcard, you probably want to have something between. I have
a equivalent of a penny sleeve with two pieces of cardboard I put around the postcard, and I put in just a normal envelope though, because usually the stuff I'm selling is in like $5, $6, $7 American range.
Gotcha.
I had those stay flats, but I never actually used them. But I would because I would use them for magic cards, but probably only if the cards were worth, I don't know, a bit more, because I can't get those stay flats that cheap.
I think a case of them on Amazon was like $50 for 100 or something. So yeah, you're looking at, half 50 cents each, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. And are you using postage, or like you doing this letter mail, or are you doing this tracked? Well, obviously it depends on the value of the card, but I mean, the more bread and butter, like $10 items.
I charge, if the card is worth listing on ebay.com, I charge $5 flat US. So that's how much I'm charging for shipping. But we're talking about somebody's willing to pay that on a card that's like $50, $60. I mean, an extra $5 to have, probably ground advantage or like a decent tracking.
Yeah,
it's worth it. And I'm not paying out of pocket. If I do have a second card store on ebay.ca, which are like, $3 or $4 cards. Those go out with stamps, with no tracking whatsoever. But I don't sell a lot over there, like $20 or $30 worth of cards a week on that second store.
Okay.
Have you sold a Cerebella card?
I don't know what Cerebella is. What is that?
Yeah,
stupidest thing in the world.
Then you haven't sold one.
No, for sure. I don't think so.
But once you find one and sell one, you'll never forget it. It is a trading card, and it is horses in fantasy type setups.
Okay.
And it's through a series of Cerebella, but I sold some of them for like, I think $85 was the highest one, but a lot of them for the $30 range, $29 range. Some I put in, I think the lowest I've singly put a card in was for 30 or 35, but I brought them down to like 25 or something. And then the common ones I just bulked up and sold them as lots. I think I still have some in my store. Definitely have some in my store, but I mean, it's the stupidest thing you ever saw, like Carl said. Like, it's just, you wouldn't believe it.
What time era would that be from?
'80s, late '80s, or maybe early '90s, but between late '80s, early '90s type thing. So
I don't want to judge our buyers, but I judge those people buying those cards.
and the thing is that they're easy to determine. It's a little thing in the corner, and it'll be like common, rare, ultra rare.
That's convenient.
You know what I mean? So the ultra rare ones you can get 100 something bucks for in good condition, and then the rare you're looking around 30-35 bucks, and then the common you just lot them up and they'll sell as a group, right? So
yeah.
But surprisingly, I had lots of rare. I only had a couple ultra rare, and one was damaged, so I think I sold 1 or 2 ultra rares. But
so I realized, Jamie, I took you off your bolo there, completely asking all the shipping. So
no.
So you're going with, if there's numbers, good. Okay, I got that. Sports.
I think that's just a good starting point for somebody with cards in general. It's just those number cards are going to be desirable. I mean, there's other things like, there's a lot of fabric and patch cards, and they can be good, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're good, right? That's just why, like, if you have no idea, and you don't want to look up every single card. That's what I would do. If it was numbered, I would just take that. But chances are somebody selling cards, they're gonna know that the numbered cards are worth something too, unless it's just some kid selling cards that he bought at a yard sale or something, right? That he doesn't really know anything about. Which I'm sure that exists as well, right? Like,
Oh yeah, no, for sure. No, that's a great general rule, especially like for people like me who don't know sports.
Yeah, there's so much to learn, and like I said, variations of the same thing is the hard part, because you might think you have this thing that's worth all this money, and then you're like, oh no, because mine's not that. Mine's actually, instead of being worth $80, is worth $3. But what's the same otherwise, right?
That's one of my favorite things, though, is knowing those strange variants, because people will pass them by, right? But I also remember getting a couple sports cards, hockey cards. I think they had like part of their stick in there or part of their uniform, and they were worthless. They were worthless. So you can't just look at that for sure. But the number thing will stick in my head. That's great. Thanks, James.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, before we go on to Carl's bolo, I just want to know if you guys know what this is.
I think it's a crack pipe.
Well, it could be addictive.
Oh.
It's got holes in the end. Any idea, Carl?
I assume it's to give medicine at a certain amount. Like,
well, you're sort of closer.
It looks like a test tube syringe.
It is a vaginal irrigator associated with midwife, 1866 to 1920s.
Wow. So be on the lookout, everyone,
for a vaginal irrigator.
Oh my God. There's so many things we could say. We just won't.
In that pharmacy lot, that was in there.
Oh, wow, that's funny. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So, anybody know of anyone who needs one of those?
So when you're in the attic at Grandma's place, take it.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay. Now Carl's bolo. Go ahead.
Oh my God, it was a hard one this week. Okay, so I sold one of these out of the booth. So this is the only reason I'm saying this.
I just got to go wash my hands. I'll be right back.
Is nesting dolls, also called matryoshka? Yoshka? I'm saying that completely wrong. Now when I check on eBay, these are slow sellers. So there's like 15,000 listed, only 1,000 sold, which is a 15-to-1 ratio, which is really bad. So just like the cards, like where most of them are useless, and if the number ones is good, I find with these ones, the more the little people are inside the nesting doll. So like I'm sure people know, but nesting dolls are the ones you kind of like, they're Russian usually or Ukrainian. You take off the top and there's another doll inside, and you keep going down. But usually they sell for like 20 to 50 for the few that actually sell. That's according to eBay. But really, I would only pick these up if there's tons of little ones in there. So it's a funny case of like if they have a lot in there, they can sell for $50 50, 60, 70 Canadian. I see them, like I said, I sold one out of the booth this weekend. If they have a theme, it might be worth a little bit more, like Disney or stuff like that. I wouldn't pick up the modern ones or the ones with just a few dolls in them. But yeah, something a little different. You'll probably see these at garage sales or occasionally at thrift stores.
Yeah, no, I've seen them before. Every now and then you'll run into them. What is the key kind of to have the more pieces, the more expense it is?
Yeah. The more, the better. Like I said, this is not a huge money bolo. You're not going to find $200, $300, $400 things of this. It's more going to be in the bread and butter range of like 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks. But if you can get them cheap enough, I'm always going to go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, do you find the hand painted ones better than the mass produced ones? I would think
so.
Better. Yeah.
But I think sometimes, if there's like McDonald's or like Disney or something like that, where it's like, it's one of those things where there's two collectors markets going after the same thing is definitely going to help a lot. I see a few Gorbachev ones that were kind of famous. They're selling for 50, 60, 70. And when I look at items, I only ever look at, like, when I'm trying to come up with these bolos, I look at used ones because that's 99% of what we're going to find is used. So, this is another case also where Google Lens is definitely your friend to see if you have something interesting, because they're still mass producing these things. So you just don't want to pick up anything. So
cool.
Yep.
All right. So I guess it's my turn. Okay. So my bolo, I kind of briefed upon it last week as I had a sale, sold very quickly online, but I had it for like 6 months or more in the booth. And it is trench art. Do you guys know what trench art is?
Mm-hmm.
Not really.
So trench art is, most of it is like it's military related, hence the name trench art. Now you could take casings that can be large bullet casings, like big shells, or it could be bullets, or it can be metals, anything military related, made into something else. Now, very common, these things are usually lighters, and they're not going to work. They'll be workable, but they're not going to work when you find them. You'll have to know how to fix it to do it, adding flint or whatever, but it fuel. But they can be ashtrays, they can be rings, they can be basically anything where they've taken like even a military medal, or like a badge or a bullet, made it into something else considered art. So sometimes they'll even take those large casings, maybe from a cannon or something like that, or a tank, and it's just going to be the empty shell, but maybe they've created it by hammering it, or etched on it, like through scratching it or something, but they've made it into like a vase, or they've made it into like a pattern or a picture, that kind of thing. So it can get very, like, once you get an eye for it, most of it you're going to be looking for something brass. It's going to kind of maybe resemble sort of a bullet, but it'll be put into a lighter or something like that, like I said before. But some of the stuff can get quite expensive. I think I undersold mine there a couple of weeks ago. I put 35, but I had it for a long time in the booth, so and it was a little bit rugged. It was crude. It wasn't really nicely done. It was kind of rough done, but it sold very quickly. So I think I could have probably bumped it up another 10, maybe 20 bucks.
Yeah.
I have one here. It is a letter opener. They go for about 35 bucks. But if you see, and I know the audience can't see, but you can see the bullet here. And then they've probably taken this off a larger casing, and then they did some etching and stuff, but they made it into a letter opener, right? The other one was that I sold a couple of weeks ago or last week was an ashtray, but it had a couple of badges associated with it. I've sold lighters before, usually get 35, 45 bucks for them, that kind of thing. So they're out there. You'll see them in estate sales. They'll be just stuffed in a drawer. You might get them in a drawer lot or something like that at an estate auction. But they're worth money, and people do collect this. Very collectible.
This summer, I picked up a 105 shell that someone had turned into a bottle holder for wine bottle holder, and I sold that out of the booth. I think I ended up with $40 out of that.
Yeah, good. That's good.
So I got a lot of comments on it because a lot of people where I am actually were in the Army, so they'd used 105s for either tanks or for artillery shells. So yeah, it's kind of cool.
But they're, people are making jewelry out of them. I'm just kind of glancing here quickly on eBay to see what else is there. What I've touched upon is just things that I have sold or had or have. But it can really be anything. I see somebody here has made bookends, matchbox, vases are quite common as well. Mine's up there actually. Mine's still there in the sold category. You can see my ashtray. Wow, that's fun. But bracelets, variety of different things. But some of it gets $300-$400 too, right? So keep in mind. There's a mug here, antique Rare World War II era 1917 kangaroo brass mug, heavy, $546 it sold for.
Yeah.
So
crazy.
You never know. You never know. But anyway, that's my bowl of the week.
Nice. Yeah, something to look out for. I would not look at that probably at a yard sale. Interesting to know.
So what I would do is because it's kind of once you know what you're looking for, you'll see it. Oh yeah. But if you don't know what you're looking for, it just looks like a junky lighter. It looks right. So if you go on eBay, search trench art, you're going to see a bunch of different stuff, and then it'll start resonating with you for sure. Well, that's my bowl of the week.
That's a good one.
All right. So thanks, Jamie. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah, no problem. It's nice doing an audio only. I was able to pick my nose several times. Pants are now an option, so that's always fun when you're recording.
Just don't stand up, bud. Just don't stand up.
Yeah. It was a good time. Thanks, guys.
Yes, awesome. Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah. So anything coming up, Jamie, that you want to talk about? Anything we should look forward to on your videos or anything? I know you're going on vacation, but you're hitting yard sales now. Those are good things.
Yeah, yard sales. I'm looking at a new floor for the shed.
Oh, wow.
I'm debating between commercial carpeting or it's sort of like laminate click down floor, but it's actually vinyl instead of like a laminate floor.
Yeah,
I have some in my house in the one room. I really like it, but it's instantly like more than double what commercial carpeting would cost, right? So it depends on what I want to spend.
So what is commercial carpeting? Is that like would it look like golf course, like that fake grass type stuff? Like
it's one step up from that, but it's very thin carpeting. Yeah, it just like you would see in an office place. Not anymore. Most people don't even want carpet, right?
Right.
But I don't want to walk on a plywood floor barefoot if I'm going to be barefoot in the summer because I typically am just that type of person. So.
That's a Norfolk County boy, farmer boy. There you go. Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, that's my my next big goal. The other shed update I'm hoping to do is an actual door that the garage door I have currently is not insulated. So I'm going to take that rolling door out and put an insulated door in. So yeah. So I got to sell lots of stuff so I can afford this.
Does your wife suggest you put a cot in there so that when you're a bad boy, you have a place to sleep?
Well, I mean, there's internet and I've got a heater. I might sweat to death in there at this time of year, but
yeah.
I'll be okay.
You'll be all right. Yeah. You ever go to the shed?
Yeah. She knows that probably isn't a very big threat. I'd happily get there.
It's more like you stomp your feet. I'm going to the shed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I get told, go. But, no, okay, well that's good. Look forward to that. I know yard sale seasons. I hit a yard sale last week, so I was pretty disappointed actually with what was out there. I managed to grab a couple things, but it's definitely that type of season. I won't be hitting garage sales this weekend because I got something else going on. But after that, I think I'll be hitting them pretty hard. What about you?
Yeah, definitely. I've already went to a couple indoor ones, a rummage sale, about a handful.
Is that the church one right on right after the Tim Hortons there?
In Tillsonburg?
Yeah.
It's just behind Broadway.
The rummage sale?
Yeah. It was pretty good. I found some decent stuff. Nothing you would probably want or pick up, but like aloe beam jackets, some cool vintage like shirts and
no
whatever.
Jimmy Choo shoes.
No Jimmy Choo. Yeah, it was good. It was good. I mean, it's nice to source in a different way. I mean, thrift stores become boring. The Goodwill bins becomes repetitive. You can look all you want online for deals, but if they're not there, walking around looking at somebody's junk on their front yard is my number one way to source for sure.
Yeah, we went through Tillsonburg. I shouldn't say we. I was actually by myself. I went through Tillsonburg last week, and I saw an advertisement. I guess it would have been the 26th. Was that Saturday? So it was for a rummage sale at a church, but it was just as you come off of the Highway 3, and then you pass the Wendy's Tim Hortons, and on your right-hand side was a church, and they had a big sign.
Okay, yeah, I've been to that one before too. I didn't know that was.
I never even thought, but I should have given you a call. I should have texted you anyway, say, hey, there's, I will do that next time. Like if I'm passing through or whatever, I'll be going through there quite a bit now. So if I see anything like that, I'll let you know. But we'll have to keep in contact for sure. Help each other out, like when there's things like that, right? So,
for sure.
I know I do that with Ben, and we do that, and it's just good to have an Adam. It's kind of good to have that local kind of camaraderie, I guess. So anyway, very good. Thanks for coming out, Jamie. Awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Anytime.
And enjoy your vacation.
Yeah, it'll be a good time for sure.
And if you get stuck at the border and put in jail, just give me a call. I'll come and get you.
Yeah.
But all right, any last words, Carl, with Jamie?
Nope. Just thanks for coming on. It was always a lot of fun having guests on, especially I think the first time we've actually talked, because you were on Sunday night show with a few times, but I was never on at the same time. So it was always
yeah, exactly.
And I'll just set this out there too. If anybody's local, we do have some people around the Tillsonburg area. Tell them about your wife's hairdressing shop. Like it's a quite big. It's it's a salon, right? So you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, sure. It's a spa in Tillsonburg, Ontario. It's Tranquility. Do everything from laser hair removal, pedicures, manicures. There's I think there's currently 5 different hairstylists in there. We have a girl who rents a room in the back who does she does tattooing, but like the kind of tattooing where they they'll tattoo on your women like to tattoo their eyebrows, which I didn't know until we owned a spa. Stuff like that. A little bit of everything. It's been really good over the last year. I wouldn't say it's not made us have a huge financial gain or anything like that, but it's gave us a new respect for that type of business in a community, and it's been nothing but positive.
Good. Awesome. Good. Yeah, you guys had that now just for a couple of years now, I guess, right? We're going on 2 or 3. A year and a bit, maybe a year and a half, maybe. Okay. Yeah. Good. Very good. Yeah. When I drove by there, I see the big turquoise green sign. You can't miss it. So
can't miss that sign for sure.
Yeah. I often was. I should drop in just to see if you're there, but I'm sure you're not there that often, right?
Depends. Yeah, a few times a week, but I mean, I don't hang out there too long. Just usually, doing something quick.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll have to go for a beer or something. We'll hit Boston Pizza right across the road from place?
Anytime. I need very little convincing for that, for sure.
We'll watch a Blue Jays game or something on the screen there.
Yeah.
But all right. Well, thanks so much for coming out.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
We'll talk to you soon, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Take care. No,
okay. Well, that was great to talk to Jamie. Glad we were able to have him aboard, and we'll have to have him back again.
For sure.
All right. So what time is it now, Carl?
Time for comments.
Comments. All right. So should we start in Spotify?
For sure.
And you can read Spotify now. Do you want to read the first one, or do you want me to?
No.
Okay.
All right. Tina Mac.
I
agree with the need to be on multiple selling platforms and venues if you sell full time. The scary part is, what if something happens? You get booted from one. It happens. Yeah, just like Jamie said. Coming to him.
Yeah.
I've heard of it happening to people on Amazon. I've heard of Amazon cutting what you can sell from people where that was their main way of making a living. All of a sudden they can't sell it anymore. So diversification is definitely good.
Yeah.
Too many Veros on eBay and you could be gone. Yeah, like I thought about selling some ink, and it's like I couldn't remember if I was Veroed on it, so I decided, well, I'm not even going to risk it.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to not even touch it. At one time, you could easily be a full-time seller, but it's tough these days unless you have a good source for inventory. Yeah, I think it's. Well, yeah, it's definitely it's changed a lot. It's gone, I think, maybe back more to how it was pre-COVID, and is my impression, because I kind of came in during just before that time period.
Yeah, but everybody talks about the good old days on eBay too, and that was definitely pre-COVID. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Is there less people? I don't know. I think it's a rotating thing. I think I'm going to agree with Tina Mac on the part where if you have good source for inventory, if you can get volume, I think that was your word in the past, Carl, was the volume, but I agree with that word. Like you need volume.
Oh yeah.
You need to be able to source a lot. You need to be able to source it cheaply. And in my mind, what it is you got to, like, I work really hard at sourcing. I think that's probably where I work the hardest, is sourcing. I mean, that's the funnest for me too. So, but that's key for sure.
It's definitely harder to deal with just one-offs. Like my best buys have always been the big volume buys. Like hands down. Even if my profit per item isn't as good, it's just finding the same stuff. It's just it's hard to beat. They've all been good, I think, pretty well, except for these wrinkle dogs. But apart from that, it's all been great.
Yeah, and you got to have places to get rid of it. So I can source a lot, but maybe 30, maybe even up to 50% isn't really eBay type stuff, but I'll throw it in the booth, and it's another avenue of me making money. It's not a situation where, it's a hobby anymore. It's actually a money making aspect of my reselling. It saves me, it gives me more options, and it's been working. So hopefully that doesn't change. I mean, everything changes, so I'd like to try to keep that. It prevents me from having to invest in my own store, my own expenses. I can kind of have a limited expense with lots of gain, where I don't have to pay employees to watch my store. I don't have to pay insurance. I don't have to pay internet. I don't have to pay a lot of fees that way. And it's a well-known store, so it's already established. It's already does its own advertising. Like, you know what I mean? There's a lot of benefits, and basically what I'm doing is just setting stuff in there and walking away, and they take care of the rest.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
So there's a lot of benefits that way. I do have a lot of square footage compared to most vendors, but I'm there for different reasons too. I'm there to make money. Right. So
yeah. If I could switch to something like that, I probably would at some point, because it's like, I like the social aspect of my Sundays, but I also lose out because like if I want to buy things from Max Sold, which I do, often their pickups are Sundays. So I can't even buy from auctions because I'm not able to do the pickups. So there's a cost there for me as well.
There was one guy on they're in the States, but he was talking about a family and they have 5 or 6 booths. Like they have booths at 5 or 6 different stores. And they average like $1,000, $1,200 a month per store. And they just take one day a week, they just go around to each store and fill it full.
Yeah.
So and if you kind of do the math on that, let's say they're averaging $1,000 and they got 6 stores, that's $6,000 a month in profit. Like that's what they're profiting per booth. That's what their take is. So if you're spending, I don't know, $1,500 to do that, you know what I mean? It's not a bad little gig, right?
Oh yeah.
I don't want to get around to traveling to each stores because I do eBay. You know what I mean? So me to do my 3 booths at the store is basically almost like a small store in itself. If I went bigger, it's going to take me away from eBay, and I think I'm losing money because eBay just does that much more. But there is something to be said about if you're not into eBay, or say you get kicked off eBay and you say, okay, well, I still want to resell, and you go around to 5 or 6 different locations, and those are your stores, you could do well. I know a guy who actually did that with books, and like personally knew him. And so what he did is he had booths at 5 or 6 different locations throughout within a couple of hours either way. Now his goal was to keep them full of books. He did very well with books. And then he would also go to shows on the side. So if he was at a fishing show, he's obviously going to take fishing related books to that show, and he would sell them there. And he would do a knitting show, he could do craft show, and he would take those type of books. They were more on the newer side of things. So I think he had some sort of way of obtaining these newer books, modern books. But that was his job. That was his business. And he did quite well with them. So something to be said about that too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, like as long as you do, it can be, your cost can be high, and you might not know it. Like I said, like for me, when I did the math, like just for April, right, I sold a lot. I think it was $1,700, $1,800 for the month. But after all the expenses and everything, I was only I made $70 a Sunday. So what is that? $280, $300 for the month net.
Right.
Right. Because but
you're there in a different capacity too, Carl, right? Like you have to, like, if I found a place like that and I was there for a different reason, which I'm here now, like I would probably try to find a different place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you're there for a different reason and you're just learning that place too, so that sometimes takes time to know what people are looking for. But if it wouldn't make sense for me to do it, but it makes sense for you to do it.
Well, I want money too. I like the social aspect, like I said, but I also like money.
Yeah.
So but you're right. I'm still learning. It's still improving.
Yeah.
That's the key thing, right? It's hard, like, because like January and February, January, February was so low in terms of sales at the booth that it's not really even worth being open, to be honest.
Well, you have to be open though, because you have to let the people know to keep coming back, and there's going to be regulars. So you're doing it. You're like, some business can say there's no sense being open except for during Christmas, because that's when we make our money. But they have to be open because they got to let people know they're there. You know what I mean? It's just kind of a different dynamic. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it does. It's just that the problem was also in January, February, that's kind of when I was growing the booth too. So there was like a week or two of very inefficiency. But
which is a good time, because you don't want to be learning and bringing stuff into your booth during the busy time. You want to do that then to prepare for the busy time. So
that's true.
Right. So
I've been told April is supposed to be one of the best months for the booth, for the market. Okay. So that's kind of just finished. So we'll see. Like I'm being optimistic.
Yeah,
it's all good.
And you just expanded, so maybe you expand again. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Right, but anyway, I don't know. We're rambling on here. As I always do.
So I'll just finish her comment. At one time, you could easily be a full-time seller, but it's tough these days unless you have a good source of inventory. Okay, we said that. I started selling due to illness as well. It's a good supplement to income. Good luck to you and your wife, Adam. Yep. Thank you, Tina.
And now to Adam Wakefield. I appreciate the advice. So what happened there is he was talking about going full-time. And we were kind of like saying, like, don't listen to us to go to full-time, kind of make sure that your ducks are in a row and you're prepared. So that's what he's talking about there. There's a lot of details I can't say on here. I'm 55, have my own business, 3 kids still at home, a wife who can't work because we almost lost her during COVID and she's been in remission from stage 4 cancer. Sorry to hear that, Adam.
Yeah.
Hopefully, well, she's in remission. So, I mean, as far as I'm understanding, but that seems to be in a good spot for that type of thing. I don't know if that sounds right. I'm trying to sound proper, but for a year now. So I might lose my contract on my business in a couple of months. So that's why I'm scrambling to come up with the ideas for an income. I don't think I can sell enough to net 2,000, but maybe it will help supplement if I get another job that doesn't pay as well. Well, the only thing I can say, like, I don't know whereabouts you are in your reselling ability, but sometimes you, like, let's face it, you have to have some money to buy stuff in order to sell that stuff. So I don't know. I feel like I'm giving advice that I don't want to be that type of person. I just kind of like to tell our experiences. But for me, I'm able to find stuff fairly cheap that I think is pretty decent, and I just try to sell it. So I don't know. Like, not everything you buy is going to sell.
No.
Not everything you're going to buy is sometimes you're going to buy lemons. You're going to buy something that you didn't realize had an issue. And those issues are going to be tough to sell on eBay because it could affect your account. And that's what also the booth does for me, is allows me to try to recoup that money without the issues, because sometimes those issues aren't really an issue. They just could be an issue because eBay, sometimes the people complain about everything. But if somebody was able to have that in their hand, they're not going to have a problem with it at all.
Yeah.
So, and I'm probably a little bit, because I do have the booth, I'm a little bit more cautious with that than maybe I need to be. I could easily describe it, but I also find that it's kind of a headache having to describe it and take all sorts of pictures. And I'll say the toy soldiers are a perfect case of that, because they might have a paint chip or something is minor enough that it still displays well, but it's not mint. It's not new condition. And if somebody sees it, well, what's this paint chip? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it could technically complain about that if I don't disclose it or I didn't see it. You know what I mean? So I'll just put that in the booth and I'll let the people get it. Because half the time those guys don't care, because they're just going to take it home and paint it themselves. They'll touch it up. They have kits to deal with that. But anyways, I just, like, sometimes you can make bad investments, and if you don't have a way to kind of handle them and recoup money or still make money, eBay might not be the best place to do that, because it could be opening a can of worms, a return. You know what I mean? Or you might have to.
Yeah, you don't want to flip out every time there's a return, because you need the money. Because, like, that's not a good place to be in. You don't want to be a desperate buyer or a desperate seller ever. Yeah. So you want to make sure you have enough. I think the other thing too is, if you do what I was saying before, which is have a separate account for your eBay only. If you're going to pay yourself, have it be a flat amount that you can sustain out of that account to your personal account. I used to do that. So every week I would transfer like $100, $500, whatever I could sustain. That way you're not drawing a ton of money out of your capital that you're going to need to buy or deal with returns or things like that. You don't want to be caught in that situation. I've heard people even say like, I can't afford to ship this until they give me the money, but they haven't given me the money yet. So what do I do? It's like, you never want to be in that situation.
But it also sounds like he has his own business set up. So this could be a smooth transition, right? But I don't know. I just don't want to influence anybody. I mean, do I enjoy it? Am I having fun with it? Yeah, but it can be a grind. It can be frustrating at times too, right? Like it's not the easiest thing, and I wouldn't want to make it come across like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But I wish you the best of luck, Adam. And if you have any questions, like I'd be willing to, help out what I can. I don't want to give advice, especially if I wouldn't say something that I don't totally agree. But there's probably other channels out there that might even be able to give you better advice or better, like we just kind of talk about our experiences. But if you want somebody to say the do's and don'ts, there might be better channels out there to watch for that kind of content.
Oh yeah, get lots of different opinions on this.
Yeah. like I'm not saying we're the best channel or anything. We're just a couple of guys that like to talk about our experiences reselling because we love reselling. But I don't know. I think I'll just drop it right there. But I do wish you the best for sure, Adam, and you and your wife. And I appreciate your comments. And if you have any questions, we'll try to do the best to answer them. For sure.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you so much. That's on our Spotify. So we'll head over to YouTube. Do you want to read the first one?
Sure. From Randy, Nova Scotia, Kelt. Hey, guys.
I don't see anything from Dawn this week.
No.
Okay.
Do I?
Okay. Hopefully she didn't go into the abyss or comment. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Hey, guys. My sales to the States are strong. One buyer asked me about customs and duty. I said I can't tell from my end, but have not heard of any complaints. Asked me twice, then purchased the book. When it arrived, he was still worried. I told him if the mailman didn't ask for money, he is fine, and that I'm not looking for more money. Yep, that's true. Once it's delivered, and they're not going to give you the stuff until they've made you pay for any duties. At least that's the way here. It's here in Canada. If you owe duties.
Well, you can always go knocking on doors saying, hey, we need duties and taxes. That would be a good scam.
Yeah. Comic book protection at a booth is a sore point spot for me. So this is when I was talking about I'm selling some comics that are kind of rough. Yeah. I've had people walk up, pull a comic up a little inches, then slap it down with the palm of their hand. Bending the top, and you've destroyed the value. If you are not interested, why touch? Anyways, $1 comics, no bag or board. More valuable are bagged and boarded and near the back of the table within reach of the hammer I'm holding. Only kidding. Kinda.
Yeah.
I think I'm asking $2 a comic or 3 for $5. And I sold some this last weekend. 3 whole comics for $5.
I honestly, I put $3 to $4 on all my comics, and I don't search them for better ones. I might look through them quickly to see if there's any like 15 or 10 centers or something like that. But other than that, I don't really research them. And I do $3 to $4 a comic. It depends what kind of mood I'm in. It's kind of like if they look 80s or kind of in the 80s, 70s era, I'll probably put $4. If they look newer, I'll probably put $3. That's kind of where I do.
Yeah.
What I do. But I will bag them, but I never board them. If they're boarded, but I don't add the board.
No, because the board, you give me like a bag and board, that must cost at least. What do you think?
It's about $35 for the bag, $35 for 100 boards. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 70 cents to $1 just to. If you're selling it for $1, it's gonna.
Yeah.
You're getting their money back just in the bag and the board, right?
But
You are right about checking all the boxes before quitting your job. I think I did pretty good last year, but after doing my taxes, the taxable earnings from eBay was not huge. Yeah, so I just did my taxes like literally yesterday, and yeah, it was kind of shocking seeing the gross and then seeing the net. I definitely sold a lot less this last year, but I put a lot less effort into it. So, but doing the cash method, how much inventory purchased during the year affects everything. Not a tax professional. As always, great show, but no joke.
There is a joke this week, but it's in the middle.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll have to find it.
Yeah,
it's not at the end. All right. So Carver Man, who was a guest a couple weeks ago, Saraj says, "Hey gents, another good podcast. By the way, I sold the eggplant panda anthropomorphic figure for $210 Canadian.
Yikes.
Wow, nice. So far I sold 3 of the 24 I have and have gotten money back. Paid up on them because of comps 10 to 12 a piece, but now the rest will be pure profit.
Nice.
Slow sellers, but I'm patient. Nice. That's awesome.
That is really good. Congrats, Serge.
Yep.
Those are so cool.
That was a bolo.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that was your bolo you stole from him.
I stole from him, yeah. I stole his bolo.
Yeah.
Desperate times, you know?
Yep.
So one last comment from Harry. Good to hear you guys.
Homestone.
Harry Homestone, friend of the channel. Good to hear you guys, but we'd be better on Sunday nights. Well,
he's pushing it. He's pushing us to do the Sunday show again.
Well, he's pushing you to do the Sunday show. I'm happy with this Wednesday. Whenever we get up, we just kind of do it. Yeah.
Hey, anybody that likes to just watch picking, check out Harry's channel, Harry Humstone, because he does a lot of picking too, and he likes the older antique stuff, and you can learn a lot as to what sells because he's got a good eye for the old stuff. So he picked up some signs the other day. So nice Goodyear sign. So check that show out. But he's fun to watch, good to listen to, and a great guy. So
always entertaining.
Mr. Harry Humstone, yes.
Thank you, Harry. Sure. Thank you, Sash. Thank you, Randy.
Yeah. So check out Harry Humstone for sure. Thanks, Harry. Thanks, Randy and Siraj. So there we go. Do you like the thumbnail of last week?
I always like the thumbnails.
Yeah?
Always hilarious, yeah.
Yeah. Aren't you glad you quit your job? I haven't listened all week. So many distractions. And we're sitting there fishing, Carl. And then there's a lot going through my head saying I really need self-discipline.
And fishing is kind of what we do, really, eh?
Yeah.
That's the lure, see what we can. You never know what's on the end of the line.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Pick your spots to source.
Good analogy for sure. Yeah.
Throw some back. And once in a while, you get a big fish, and like we add a few inches whenever we talk about it later.
Yeah, for sure, eh? Yeah, but no, I just thought that was kind of fitting. So we're up to 122 subscribers on YouTube. So kind of help us boost that number up. Hit the like button, hit the subscriber button, and tell a friend. I'm gonna see what we're at for the for Spotify. 76 Spotify followers. Total of 2,655 platform plays.
Excellent.
So we got a lot of plays. Let's get some followers over there too, guys. Just hit us up as a follower. Appreciate it for sure. And always leave a comment. We like reading comments, so we read them every week. So
Yep.
If you comment after we've already discussed that show, we won't be able to read them. So we always kind of read the comments from our previous show.
Yep. And if you want to leave a comment and not have us say it, just say that and we won't read it during the show.
Yep, that's true too.
I want to discourage people from commenting just in case they don't want it read out. But yeah, no, thank you everyone for commenting and listening and subbing and all that stuff and listening to us babble on for a couple of hours every Friday. Yeah. Is there anything you wanted to add there, Scott?
Well, I just sold a pottery pelican out of the booth for $15.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! I picked up a really... actually, you know what? I did do an auction. I forgot to talk about it. I picked up some... I lied. I forgot about this auction. I did pick up some stuff. I picked up some pottery pieces that were... they're Mexican, and they're kind of cool. Most of them were owls. You know why I forgot about it? Because I basically took everything right to the booth.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I didn't even really have to deal with it too much here. But, for $8, I picked these up. You know what else I picked up? Was some really neat pottery, but they were clay pottery. These weren't Mexican. I think they were Canadian. They were signed. But they're like an elephant, a teddy bear, and a lamb. And they have big eyes. They kind of really look, human-like, kind of images.
Yeah.
And they go for about $50 to $60 a piece. The elephant does and stuff. But I put $45 on each of them, and I threw them in the booth. So
nice.
But I could have probably put them online. But they just felt clay, and I just felt that they could break.
Yeah, I don't.
You know what I mean? I didn't feel comfortable shipping them, and I think I can get $45 out of the booth for them. But this was just a little pelican. It was probably, I don't know, 3 inches high by 3 inches wide. Sold for $15, but it was really cool. And I got a feeling now Stephanie probably bought it because she was really liking it. So
yeah,
sometimes she'll do that. I don't know. I'm not saying she did. But sometimes she'll buy stuff out of my booth because she doesn't want to ask for it for free. I'm like, are you crazy? Just take the damn thing.
I know, right?
It's like, I paid nothing for it. Just take it. But sometimes she'll do that. I'm going to look around here real quick, Carl, because I picked up some other stuff. I forgot about that. Okay, yeah, so I got a few things at that auction, but nothing super great. Everything just went to the booth, and there you go. I did get that Seagull mobile that I talked about earlier at that auction too, so that sold very quickly. So I was happy with that. But
I'll be busy scanning postcards for the next year or two. Hopefully there's a few winners in there to pay for it. And prep for the booth. I might bring some stuff home. Like I have a nice accordion that hasn't moved there.
Yeah.
But enough people played it. I know it works perfectly well. It's more accordion players than you might think just wandering around. Or they're happy just to pick up and start playing it without even asking me. They just start playing with their jig. It's like, okay. But I'll put that online. So I don't think I'm asking $195 at the booth. And I don't think anyone's going to pay for that somehow.
Yeah. What's it worth online? Same or a little more?
No, a bit more.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
But it's not huge, which is nice.
Yep. Nice. All right, buddy. That's about it for me.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for everyone for listening. Thanks for Jamie for coming on.
Yep. Thank you, Jamie. And we're here every Friday on Spotify and on YouTube, audio only. So anyway, thanks for listening, everyone. Have a good week, everyone, and have a good week, Carl.
Yep.
And have a good week, Jamie.
Yes, have a good week, Jamie. Have a good week.
Thanks for coming on for sure. All right. Have a good one, Carl.
Bye, everyone.